time for the maybe finale of this. I mean, every source that I googled said that there are 12 chapters, and this is the 12th chapter, so it should be the finale. I also wouldn't be surprised if this was like a 5-hour finale or something like that. I hope not, though, to be honest. I hope not. So I don't think my my voice can keep up for that long if that's the case. I also don't hope that I'm gonna get hit by the yes, you can be streaming this from this point onwards thingy, because that would kinda suck. So, yeah. Guess we'll see. Guess we'll see. If not, I'll just have to upload this on YouTube and like make it hidden or something. I don't know. I don't know. Guess we'll see. Guess we'll see. But alright. Let's get this finale started then, I guess. Still expecting this to have an epilogue too. Oh, I guess we'll see. The golden wolf's ear stood pointed, twitching in response to the sounds around it. Its meal finished, it curled up into a ball in anticipation of a nap time, and yawned half from boredom. The doggo needs to sleep. The old abandoned classroom had fulfilled its purpose many moons ago. For a month the wolf had spent his time resting on top of a heap of disheveled desks. His name was Luke Beowulf. He was a purebred werewolf named after the sun at his birthplace and a hero of legend upon leaving there. I hope the audio is fine. I mean, I haven't changed anything since yesterday, so... It goes without saying he was not from this country. He came from a land deeper than the European wilderness, surrounded by mountains and forests. His homeland was a realm no human had ever set foot in. In their isolated world forgotten by time, a diminishing race of werewolves lived in peace. This is where Beo first appeared. In a cave on the outskirts of their village, the werewolves found a child bearing the same golden coat as their ancestors. The child was sleeping soundly in his natural habitat. The village welcomed a new member with open arms. 2,000 years of advancing civilization had been cruel to them. As the forests were destroyed, valleys unnerved and waters polluted, the werewolf birth rate dwindled. They were now facing one birth a decade. The child's golden coat, deviating from the typical grey or white and shared by only their ancestors who were treated as as gods, felt like a sign that praise had been answered. A bloodline and atrophy. The werewolves were forced to embrace change. This radiant child at least was temporary, made them forget about the troubles. Alas, as time passed, our hopes turned to disappointment. The golden wolf was not their salvation. For some reason, look, the golden ray of sun remained a child. Decades passed and he still did not grow. Forever young, immortal, cursed. He searched the village for his birth mother, but to no avail. He searched the village for someone who understood his plight, but to no avail. Over hundreds of years he came to realize something. He was different, very different. Neither male nor female. Neither strong nor weak. Ignorant of life and death, joy and fear. That thing's a spirit, born of nature. May look like as werewolves, but don't let you fool that. But don't let it fool you. But the child himself needed not conjecture to know his own nature. He was perfect, and therefore he was alone. To the golden wolf the world was too small. That was why. Indeed, it was the very reason. He wanted to know what life was. He wanted to know loss. If he was all-powerful, he wanted to know the mystery behind his all-powerfulness. Because as it was, his existence was meaningless. The golden wolf was at a loss, as there were werewolves around him. They revered him, but at the same time they wanted nothing to do with him. Luke moved back to the cave he was discovered in, and resigned himself to a life of seclusion.
太陽のルー？ルーガルじゃなくて？
Was it Lou? Lou? Like the sun god Lou? I thought it was short for Luke Guru.
そりゃ面白い。偶然にしちゃできすぎだ。
Which means werewolf in French, by the way, chat. Yes, I know that. That's one heck of a coincidence. And then one day a quirky mage visited the village. Oh, quirky. We're going to call her quirky. Yeah, sure. Just forget she's a psychopath. Yeah, quirky. Sure.
るさい。トウコさんはあれだよね。派手好きなくせに豆だよね。
You chill out, Miss Toko. Why would you have to be so dramatic all the time? From his place on top of the rubble, Bayo appeared into the hallway. He went to his he thought his fuzzy master was busy dealing with Misaki City's ley lines, but she was engrossed in making traps. 1 month passed since they made a dilapidated building a makeshift workshop. Creating a new trap for intruders became a daily pursuit for Toko.
安全を用意しておくなんて、他の生き物は大変だ。
You worry about your safety, but what about the other creatures? Having been like this since birth, knowing neither infancy nor dotage, he thought differently than the others. For he was perfect from the day he was born. Never declining, never improving. As such, he had no comprehension of weakness. Childlike, fickle, and without morals, he had no concept of good and bad as either human or wolf. A beautiful creature disconnected from the world around him, he was on top of all other creatures. With one exception, his master, Toko Aozaki. She showed him a sparkling, delicious world, and above all found her scent refreshing. Delicious, huh? To him the world was divided into what was cool and what was not. Hello there. He preferred his own leisure pursuits were of no consequence to him, and he never took gender into account. The only thing that mattered to him was whether a person's life was logical and therefore cool. Toko Ozaki had her faults, but she smelled good.
Beo, 昼食は済ませたか?
Finish your lunch, Beo. Beo's master entered the classroom, presumably done with the traps for the day.
夜が本番だ。それまであまり羽目を外すなよ。
It's showtime tonight. Just keep it together until then. Sometimes, like now, she would nag at him, but on the whole his master pleased him. In reality, the contract binding him to her was not particularly powerful. If he wanted to, he could tear her to pieces at any time. The streamer's reading. That's fine. No human could restrain him. The only issue that's going to be happening is like, oh no, people are watching the stream. It's like, oh no! Why is this person talking to chat instead of reading the story, instead of ignoring them? Yeah, well, too bad I guess. However, he had no intention of killing Togo in exchange for his freedom. And there was a reason for this. In order to move about freely in human society, he needed someone like her. As long as she did not offend him, she had no reason to rock the boat. Well, he had no reason to rock the boat. However...
やっと本番か。待たせすぎだよ、トウコさん。
Finally, the main event. I was getting tired of waiting, Miss Toko. The promise she had made him in his cave and the reality of the situation had begun to come apart at the seams.
最高の神秘と戦わせてやる。
Come here, I'll let you fight the most powerful mystic there is. He was compliant up until now, but his patience was wearing thin. The fight with the news magician last night was an enormous letdown.
そういうな。私も昨日は拍子抜けだったんだから。
Oh hush, I was just as disappointed as you
い
were.
いけどね。実はあの子、使わないんじゃなくて、使えないだけじゃないの？
I'm not that bummed, but why won't the girl use it? Because she can't? His master's expression turned serious. Not in agreement at the wolf's question, though. For she had already asked herself the same and many other similar questions.
いや、使うぐらいなら死んだ方がマシなのかもな。
No, because she'd be better off dying than to use it, I suppose.
そんなバカなことがあるの？使わないと死んじゃう状態だったんだよ。
Seems Toko is hiding something up her sleeves, huh? It doesn't make any sense. She almost died because she didn't use it.
だから、そんなバカな考えが成立するぐらい。
Which proves my point. It must be too terrifying to use, Toko finished in her head. She stopped short of voicing it and chuckled at her emotional outburst.
どれほどのものか想像がつかないのは確かだ。
Sure, I can't even imagine what it must
だ
be.
がまあ、根本は変わらないさ。魔法がどのような奇跡神秘の類であれ、魔術師である以上、青子に勝ち目はない。
Still, this changes nothing. Whatever sort of miraculous mystical magic is, as long as she remains a mage, she can't win. With those words, Mio's master walked out of the room, emphasizing that his role in all of this was to face Aoko only at that very moment.
魔法ね。
True magic, huh? The boy look in his eyes shifted. He recalled the taste of that girl, his long tongue sliding over his chainsaw-like fangs. Make no mistake, he would finish his meal. He was the oldest werewolf, the golden god of the forest. For as long as he could remember, no, from the moment he appeared, he had been the most powerful creature of all. and all man-made mystics were trashed before him. Magecraft was laughable, and even mystics, artificial miracles were futile. Their existence was an insult to him.
もちろんそういう契約だしちゃんと平らげはするけれど
After all, that was the deal. When the time comes, I'll dig right in. That was the extent of the pact. Once he had dealt with his so-called true magic, he was free. His eyes burned with the wolf inside of him, his fanged mouth twisting into a sadistic beastly grin. It was just past 7 p.m. Misaki High School's old building stood silently. While light from the city reached the area, the forest and the mountains kept the area hushed. Nothing unusual. During winter vacation, the old building, now still covered in yesterday's snow, was rarely used. Without signs of lines... lines? What do you mean lines? Without signs of life, such unused structures were mere monuments of what once was, nothing more. The old school building would remain that way until the start of a new semester. And behind it, the vast forest grew darker by the minute. If the building had died in just under 2 weeks of vacation, what had become of the forest over the years? The wall of overgrown trees filtered out the noise of the city and most of the moonlight. An otherworldly realm had taken root, not even 2 miles away from town. Piercing the cold night air, footsteps crunched through the powdery snow.
この辺りに仕掛けはなさそうね
There's no traps this
それ
way.
でどうするのこのまま旧校舎に忍び込む
So, what's the plan? Sneak into the old school building?
まさか私らがやってきたことなんてとっくにバレてるわ
Yeah, right. She already knows we're here.
隠れても意味はないし何より敵のアジトに入ってどうするのよ盗みが目的じゃないでしょ今回は
Why hide? And what will you do once we're in our hideout? We're not even there to steal anything.
後ろから切りつけるのは強盗というのじゃなくて
What about the element of surprise?
それができれば苦労はないんだけどねまあ忍者の真似事は私というかアリスの芸風じゃないでしょ
If we could do that, it would make our job easier. But playing ninja isn't really my thing, nor yours for that
そ
matter.
もそも
And anyway,
そもそもやる気
anyway,
満々なのはこっちもあっちも同じってこと
we're not the only ones out for blood tonight. The sound of the footsteps stopped in unison. The old forgotten Misaki High School building stood before them. What used to be the school yard was now a barren snowscape. Reclaimed by the forest, the building looked like a shell of its former self. The surrounding trees resembled standing mourners at a funeral.
せっかちなお嬢さん方だ。タイムリミットまであと4時間はあるというのに。
Talk about impatient. There's still 4 hours until the time limit. Alone in the middle of the white altar was a lone scarred red mage. As she came out from the forest, the Oko lowered herself slightly, scowling at the distant target. Next to her, Alice stood motionless. The bare branches of the trees cast long thorny shadows. Oko was reminded of Sleeping Beauty, except this mage wasn't nearly as pleasant as the princess in that. Not to mention she wasn't sleeping, and there was no prince. Wouldn't it be more like a Beauty and the Beast, seeing the Wolfman? Whatever. Regardless, this princess came out of a schoolhouse castle to greet the challenges.
その体で無理をして。
Pushing yourself in that
あな
condition,
たのそういうところ、姉としてどうかと思うわ。青子。
you do make your big sister worry, Oko. Toko grinned faintly. Oko fought back the urge to respond. Meanwhile, Alice stood in silence and interested in sibling rivalry. Toko stood about 100 feet away. With their senses sharpened through magecraft and the sounds of the forest, they could hear each other perfectly. The golden wolf was nowhere to be seen. Toko faced the 2 girls alone. Alice's black overcoat and winter hat were the typical items of clothing for a mage battle. A few places in front of her was Oko, whose combat garb was comparatively out of place, a Misaki High School uniform. She had asked Alice to bring a change of clothes for her, but there must have been some misunderstanding. Though it was a trivial miscommunication, Toko seemed to think it had something special meaning.
ところで、始める前に一ついいかな。
Before we start, mind if I ask something?
気になって仕方がないし、この先機会もないだろうから聞くんだけど、あなたの戦闘服ってそれなの？青子。
I can't help but be curious, and this is probably my last chance to ask. But is it seriously what you're going to fight in Naoko? Toko spoke clearly and despite the distance, was able to communicate a deep-seated scorn without trouble. Naoko tried to attack and engage in small talk, but she decided to take the bait.
そんなわけないでしょ。今までこういう機会が多かっただけよ。数えるなら今日を含めて4回しかないわ。
Don't lie, you've had plenty of chances to ask me. 4 times, including today.
私はまだ現役だからそれも悪くはないかもしれないけど、いつか流行るでしょ、こういうのも。
Well, this is my job right now, so I think it's fitting. Besides, my fashion's ahead of the times. Naoko was shown to emphasize the words. For a split second, Toko's eyes narrowed.
呆れたな。相変わらずのローセンスだ。
Figures. Same bad taste as always.
それはどうも。人形を実の妹に見立てる異常者にそう言われるなら、一周回って安心よ。
Thanks. It's actually a relief hearing that from a creepy puppet maker. With that, the two fell silent and glared at each other. The bloodlust cut through the thick cold air like a knife. While the two of them sized each other up, Alice surveyed the area around Toko. There was no indication of anyone or anything that was lying in wait near her. Perhaps she should see if the werewolf is still in the old school building. Maybe Toko didn't feel like Oko and Alice were much of a threat in her injured state. Or she was really not expecting a counterattack so early, so the werewolf wasn't ready. After some contemplation, Alice surmised it was the former. She really was going to fight alone. Her arsenal comprised of mystic eyes and a rune magecraft. This was more than enough to deal with Oko and Alice in their current state. Alice, all I need is one shot. Oko signaled to Alice behind her with the movement of her fingers. Alice had no objections. The original plan was for her to keep the werewolf busy. With the mirror as a backup, Oko was hoping to catch Toko off guard. They had a few other cards up their sleeves, but the fact remained that as mages their attacks wouldn't affect the werewolf. So they decided to ignore it and focus on taking out Toko. Not the best strategy, but it was all the two of them could come up with. But they had been thrown a curveball. Toko had the upper hand, so she was reluctant to use the beast. Oko wasn't about to let this opportunity go to waste. By distracting her with a sibling banter, she would settle things before the werewolf even showed up.
じゃあ今度はこっちの番ね。
And my turn to ask a question.
どう？結界の張り直しは進んでる？
How are the fields working out?
まさか昨日の今日よ。まだ手をつけてもいない。せいてはことを仕損じる。
Oh please, it's barely been a day. I haven't touched them yet. Can't rush these things.
だいたい私の目的は霊脈の奥にあるもので、結界そのものじゃない。張り直しは予定にないさ。
Besides, I want what's inside the ley lines, not the bone and fields. I have no plans to reset them.
まあ土地を暴くなんて面倒な真似をするより、お前を暴いた方が早いのかもしれないが。
Tearing into you is probably way faster than tearing into the land anyway.
やっぱりそれが目的だったのね。
Knew it.
ならなおのこと。あんたを魔法使いにするわけにはいかないわ。
All the more reason I can't let you become a magician. Aoko's blue eyes burned brightly with a fiery fighting spirit. Even though his sister was ready to pounce, Toko remained motionless but for her mouth, which twisted into a smirk.
魔法使いか。確かにまだ執着はあるね。
A magician, huh? I gotta admit, I like the sound of that.
私には移植されなかった魔術刻印と青崎の伝える魔法の正体。
The magic crest that Round implanted in me, and the true magic of the Ozaki
でも
family.
もういいよ。惜しくはあるが、到達すればどちらも自分で用意できる。
But it's fine. I do want them, but I can get them on my own way.
それ
I
と
can get
も
them on my own.
今ここで私のために魔法の正体を見せてくれるのかい？青子。
Oh wait, did you come here to show me your magic, Oko? Toko's words came out flatly, but Wise mocked her sister. It was true, however, and if Oko wanted to defeat Toko, her best chance would be able to use his mysterious true magic. The only problem was that she couldn't. If she could, she would have used it to avoid being mauled last night. Oko Aozaki couldn't use true magic. Toko believed she needed to fill some kind of condition. The protection of the grandfather placed on the formula was to prohibit miracles from being easily realized. However, that wasn't because he was concerned about the human world. It was no exaggeration to say that he'd feel nothing of magic level the entire city. The truth was, true magic never had any conditions. Aoko was being held back by trauma. These 5 privileges, the only power of their kind, were bound by cognitive seals. That's why Toko looked down on her naive little sister. So weak, a body incapable of handling magic that could be cut down with a mass sword. Aoko knew better than anyone else, which is why she couldn't forgive her sister's ridicule. Just try using true magic, huh? A pathetic taunt. If that's how she wanted to play, then so be it.
O nozomi to araba ne.
Have it your way. With a burst of pure rage, Aoko made a move. Her cool little shoes sped across the untamed snowfields. Like a stone skipping across the water. As Aoko charged forward, she disappeared. Only her footprints are found, like bullet was in the snow. Toko held her ground. Concealment was elementary magecraft. More than likely, the power came from one of Alice's trinkets. It was a simple yet effective countermeasure to Mystic Eyes. Toko's Mystic Eyes used the look property to bind an opponent, if it did not have the locus property to discern the truth through an illusion. Once the magecraft's workings were revealed, its weakness was exposed.
足癖が悪いのも変わらず
Still the same Still the same sloppy footwork. In a mere 4 seconds, her opponent had closed 10 yards and was still speeding up. It appears that she's given up on the mage battle and was going to move in for melee. The other girl, Alice Conji, didn't make a single step.
被弾覚悟の特攻アリスから5歩でももらっているのでしょうけど反省なさい青子
A suicide charge. Open to friendly fire from the rear. Even with Alice's protection, this is dumb. You'll regret this, Aoko.
切り札というものはあくまで自己の力によるものを言う
Your trump card has to come from your own deck. Sneering, Toko left to raise her left arm, pulling it out in front threateningly. 10 more yards. Unfortunately, her footprints gave away her position.
そう
Toko began engraving her will into the air. But before she could finish, Aoko's footprints stopped. Oh, that's a nice bot again. Mario shouted, "Can you take care of that?" She was still too far away for close combat. What a strange placement to attack. No wait, could she really stop so suddenly at that speed?
とんだく
She jumped. Toko made a snap decision. She quickly raised her outstretched arm towards the sky with saluting the moon.
添える
Funny bot. No, not really funny. Or maybe I should grab it for that. How do I even do it again? I should have done that. Yes. You can't even report it for like a proper thing is the issue here. It's like you can't even report it for like selling stuff, like only like suspicious activity outside of Twitch. Like that's not really helpful. Flames tore through the air. The rune carved into the body above her, waving in waving it into a pillar of flames. No internal resistance spells would help. Rather than simply burning the target, the runes wrapped him in a weave of flame. The assailant screamed, falling onto the snow-covered ground. In agony, she extended a burning hand from the hellish fire, as if begging for mercy, just the stuff of nightmares. The snow smelled. What do you mean smelted? The snow melted as the fire burned to the attacker alive. Chirp chirp. The movement was far too theatrical to be Aoko. Toko had already turned to gaze at Alice. She hadn't been watching the burning corpse at all. Toko knew it was an Aoko from the moment the body fell to the ground. I mean, it says it's banned, so it worked fine. Don't worry. Another dumb monster familiar. Irritated, Toko glared at Alice. Aoko had vanished into thin air. She hadn't moved at all. Blue energy traced a circle around where she stood. It was force to force, a 4-bar grand magecraft mobilizing a magic grasp. Toko only had a single-use action runes. No, she hadn't mastered anything above 2 bars to begin with. This torrent of energy was too much to handle.
Hey, 言わず
The rune formed in the magic circle. Here he was. The rune of withdrawal was evoked and Aoko's concealment was undone, allowing Toko to utilize the missing eye. With her open pupil, the infinitely mirrored eyes captured the target in an endless hell. But the major side was literally split in two. The space in front of Aoko distorted, obscuring her form like an icy mist. If Toko's eye was like an opposing mirrors, then this was a sticking one-way mirror at the... If Toko's eye wasn't like opposing mirrors, then this was like sticking a one-way mirror at the triangulation point. With the vision split in two, she couldn't lock onto Aoko.
湖水の鏡の効果よ、トウコさん。
In the mirror of slumber, Toko.
青子は鏡の Y 字路の奥にいる。一本道から見ているあなたに中心は見渡せない。
Aoko's deep in the fork in the road in the mirror creates. From where you are, you'll never be able to see her. Alice explained without concern. Due to her Toko made Alice swallow, she was still unable to use her own magecraft. However, she could use players already in motion without using magical energy, such as the Dimension's mirror and the aimless little blue bird. Poor little bird. Finally, the magic bullet was loaded.
セット、ルート、ディレクトカーラット。
Raising her right arm to reveal a luminescent crest, Aoko took aim at her target 100 feet ahead. Magical energy coursed through her gun barrel arm. From the moment she had received Alice's invisibility, Aoko had begun chanting a magecraft. It took Toko a few seconds to notice. Aoko produced more spins in the awakened magic circles than she had ever done before. She ready not snap nor draw, instead she advanced past the third process, the compression of magical energy, magic blow. If she fired the blue ether that gathered before, it would fly with the force of 10 tons. Using a magic quest to multiply the energy in a machine gunner target, it was enough power to demolish even the old building behind her.
Taka!
Aoko stared intensely at her sister, ready to fire. Toko had no time to counterattack, or even the speed to evade. The fact she didn't move implied she knew better than anyone. Acceptance filled her eyes, not fear. Aoko didn't hesitate. She squeezed the trigger on her right hand.
ツアープラン、スターマイン、カイロ、放て!
The last word came out like a scream. Under the impact of the ether, the surrounding snow melted and flew around. Toko was engulfed in dirt. No way she could survive Aoko's magic bullet. It contained every bit of Aoko's magical energy she could muster. Viewing the chaos, Aoko confirmed her victory. And yet somehow she felt bitter. But then, choosing to deal with the torrent of magical energies to swallow it up later, Toko tutted at Aoko's childlessness. Her disappointment was so deep it bordered on despair.
学ぶにしては遅すぎたが、まあ聞いておけ青子。
It's a little too late now, but listen up anyway, Aoko.
切り札というものは先に出した方の負けなんだよ。
Never play a trump card first, you'll lose. Her voice cold and aloof, she was completely unscathed. The mage stood in the snowfield, not a single speck of dirt on her overcoat. Just before the bullet reached Toko, she deflected it with magical energy of the same level. Aoko could only stare at the scene before her. The negation of her magecraft hadn't shocked her though. Leaf-like objects floated behind her sister. Aoko stared like she was living a nightmare. Countless magic rests poured out from Toko's back. It all happened in an instant. The magic bullet approaching like a tsunami, Toko lightly snapped her fingers, causing a stream of letters to rush out from behind her. Text became art, golden flowers bloomed. There must have been hundreds. All sorts of magecraft from even beyond Western Europe. The kind normally carved into the flesh of a mage. The kind Toko Awazaki shouldn't possess. The kind only followers of those schools should know. blossoming magic crest brighter than the moon. Inscribed in the air, they formed a totem pole, a guardian beast, to protect Toko.
と、まあこういうわけだ。
And now you see,
レオだけに頼ってはいないことがよくわかったろ。
I don't need to rely just on Bio. Toko's expression was steely, victory was in her grasp and there was no room to wrestle on the laurels.
姿を隠したのは鏡の応用か。
So it was a mirror that concealed
探
you.
知や隔離だけでなく、援護まで行えるとはね。
You used it to detect, capture, and act as a backup. Impressive.
三大のプロイには含まれないものの、汎用性の面で言えば、あれも破格のプロイだな。
Not quite one of the great three, but a very versatile and might I add, exceptional ploy.
持ち上げるじゃない。何？騙された負け惜しみ？
Quit patronizing us. You're just upset that you got duped.
いや、ただの自画自賛だよ。
Not at all. I'm just giving credit where credit's due.
何しろ今のバージョンは私とマインスターの合作だ。趣味に興じすぎてあれこれと機能を足してしまったと今更ながら悔いているところさ。
It was me who worked on the monster, with the monster on the thing in the first place. I'm just kind of annoyed that someone got carried away and couldn't help but add functions to it.
その後、青子に見せかけて私に向かってきたのは例のコマドリ。それに気を取られている間の大規模な魔術の発動。
And then the little robot, coming at me disguised as you. You used it to distract me while you charged up your huge attack.
私の魔眼はアリスが防ぎ、青子は攻撃だけに専念する。組み立ては悪くはない。よくやったと言っておくよ。
Alice avoided my mystic eyes while you focused on offense. Not a bad plan, you know. All in all, you did pretty well. Toko recounted the strategy, sharing her impressions as she went. Toko could not take her eyes off Toko's blooming magic grants. Only Alice was paying close attention to Toko's words.
しかし、それもここまでだ。
Well, I'm afraid this is the end of the line.
惜しいな、青子。わずか2年であれだけの魔術を使えるのなら、あと数年もすれば一流の車種になっていただろうに。
It's such a shame, Aoko. I can't believe you're still using such magecraft after 2 years. You could have become a world-class marksman. Toko snapped her fingers again. The floating crest began to glow more brightly.
アリス、あれは何？
Alice, what are those? Aoko whispered to Alice, standing next to her, she held her hand. She could not risk turning around. The second she took her eyes off Toko, the fight would be over.
見ての通り、魔術刻印よ。信じられないけど。
As you can see, the magic crest, as hard as it is to believe. Alice's voice was filled with shock and discomfort. Aoko shared Alice's sentiment. Magic crests were passed down to a family line and took unique forms. At heart, they were merely personalized inscriptions, and technically no different from grimoires. However, the reality was far different. Magecraft had no set form, but how the set shaped the ability to recreate mystics was itself flawed. To craft it into a form required an immeasurable investment of time and devotion. Magic quests were the crystallization of a family's desires and ambitions, and proof of a successor's lineage. Quests had no effect on their own, but were the ultimate symbol of a family. If no mage was willing to imbue themselves with a crest, nor likely to resolve to merge with it, then the quest's meaning was lost. It was the key difference between a crest and a mere spellbook. Crests could not be shed, and imitating them was pointless. It only stood to reason then, that even if the crest manifesting behind Toko belonged to someone else, only the original owner could benefit from them.
でも、確かに私の魔眼は、あの刻印からの魔術で弾かれた。あれは、もしかすると。
Those crests have to be what is deflecting my magic bullets. Don't tell me she's... Searching for answers, Oko squinted her eyes as she glared at Toko. She knew that copying a crest had no purpose. Only the original inheritor could invoke one. There's only one possible conclusion.
そう。肌に刻まず中空に浮かべてるのは、そういうこと。
I see. If they aren't inscribed on your skin and just floating in the air. Oko spat a curse at his sister. Toko nodded, pleased at her enemy's quick wit.
ああ、この体には合わないのでな。私の背後の空間に固定している。
The crest didn't suit my body, so I fixed them to the space behind me.
本当はね、お前たちのように肉に刻んだ方がいいんだ。魔術の起動が一動作で済むんだから。
Of course, quests like yours that are engraved into the flesh are much better, because they can be activated in one
だが
go.
実際に使用するのならこうするしかない。
But for me though, this was the only way.
起動までの手順は一つ増えるが何マイナスばかりでもない。所詮は人事なんでね。痛みは全く感じない。
Every single time. And while I do need to perform an extra step to activate them, do not mind, so I don't feel any pain. And it seemed neither physically nor mentally. Naoko knew that the system was inhuman, but she never thought she would go this far.
合うわけないじゃない。他人の魔術刻印を剥がしてるんだから血筋の称号からして馴染むはずがないわ。
Well, you're right about him not suiting you. He stole them from someone else, so you pull like a never match up.
で
Which means...
奪われた連中は死ぬこともできず今もどこかに生かされているわけだ。刻印の持ち主が死んだら起動すらできないものね、それ。
The person or person she stole them from can die, so you must have locked them up somewhere. If they died, you couldn't activate a quest.
トウコさん、あなた。
Toko, you...
非難される覚えはないんだが
I don't remember anyone complaining.
私はかかる火の粉を払っただけだよ。向こうから戦いを挑んできたんだから戦利品ぐらいは用意してもらわないと。
And they were asking for it. They should have been better prepared if they wanted to face me.
まあ中にはつまらない単語を口にしたバカ者もいるがそれはそれだ。
There were some rather rude fools who used questionable language.
むしろ優しいと思うけどね。私を殺しに来た連中をわざわざ生かしてあげてるんだから。
But have been quite kind, really. They came to kill me and I let them live.
その魔術師たちがちゃんと人間の形をしてることを祈るわ、肉親として。
Really? As a fellow mate, I can only hope you're okay.
お前ね、私を何だと思ってるんだ。
You're probably wondering what I've done to them.
脳だけ保存とか面倒だから100人ひとまとめにした肉塊とかそんな手抜きなんぞするものか。
Has she preserved their brains? Or maybe she just lumped them all into a ball of flesh, as if I do that.
きちんとカフェを用意して食事も娯楽も睡眠も自由に提供してるんだぞ。中には一生ここで暮らしたいなんて騒ぎ立てるバカもいるぐらいだ。
I built them a cafe and provided them plenty of food, entertainment, sleep, and freedom. Some of them even said they wanted to live like that forever. Toga's words were hardly believable, but it was clear her quests weren't copies. Alice's skull deepened. But Togo had described no discernible benefit in her mind. Why had she gone to the trouble of stealing all the Major's quests? It would have been more efficient to break down the quests into components and make replicas. For a skilled puppet master like Togo, she could have made much more powerful puppets with his quests. It would have made a pawn loyal to her. It would have made a pawn loyal to her every command at that, even much more useful than any enslaved mage.
なんでそんなことを。
Why, Togo?
そういう人なのよ、姉貴は。これで行くと決めたらそれしか目に入らない人なの。家庭より結果の人なの。
And that's Togo for you. Why she decides to do something, that's it. Everything's a means to an end.
ある日の話よ。テレビでピザの CM をやっててさ、私たちは唐突にあのデブ食を食べたくなった。
Well, listen to this. One time we were watching TV and a pizza commercial came on. We both really wanted to eat something
で
greasy.
も悲しいかな。一般家庭であるうちにあったのはサラミだけ。
Unfortunately, a super boring family only had a pepperoni.
うちの実家、山奥にあるの知ってるでしょ。
You know, my house is on the top of a big hill, right?
町まで行くのに1時間はかかる。中学1年だった私は我慢できなくて町まで行ったけど、ピザ屋なんか一軒もなくてとぼとぼ帰ったの。
Getting to the city took an hour, but I just had to have that pizza, so I walked it. Could I find a pizza place? Nope, so I walked back home empty-handed. It was the tragedy of living in the countryside. Sizuki had only recently gotten a conveyor belt sushi restaurant, would not see a pizzeria for another 2 years.
なのに
Then when I got home, hungry and tired,
骨折り損で家に帰ったら姉貴のやつ「おかえり」とか手を振ってピザ食べてやがったのよ。
my damn sister waved at me, all welcome back, with a big slice of pizza hanging out of her stupid
お
face.
せんべいを下地にしてみたわとか言って
She was like, I tried using rice crackers as a base.
外見たら鳥3羽と牛1頭丸々消えてて、ああこの女には10日交換とか手間とかお金の問題とか そういうの一切頭にないんだって思い知らされたわ。
When I looked outside, 3 chickens and 1 cow were gone. That's when I realized she had no concept of the value of money, hard work, or fairness. Alice agreed that it was pretty crazy.
そんな無茶なやつだからガンド打ちで目に見える傷跡を出そうなんて平気で考えるのよね。
Stupid crap like that means I'm perfectly fine with putting a hole through her chest with a gun shot.
あんなのゲマトリア一節分の栄唱で同じ効果を出せるのに、あくまで呪術にこだわるから空も飛べない人形になるのよ、バカ兄貴。
I mean, she could have just chanted a single verse of Gematria to get the same effect, but no, she was so obsessed with curses she had to make a puppet that couldn't even fly. The thought of the puppet doppelganger made her blood boil. It was clear to Oko now that Toka had done it on purpose to annoy her. Toka furrowed her eyebrows at Oko's verbal assault. She had been stoic up until now, but speaking really about her prized puppet was crossing the line.
その人形に追い詰められたのはお前だったね。
If I recall, that puppet had you on the ropes.
それとゲマトリアはカバラの秘術だ。私はルーン専門だからお前のように広く浅く知識を広める気はないよ。
And for your information, Gematria numerology is a Kabbalah secret. I'm a rune specialist, so I don't need to learn anything and everything like you do.
まあもっとも
Well, I did learn
こ
something.
の刻印の所有者の一人からケルトの結界を教わりはしたがね。
The owner of these crests taught me about Celtic bounded fields. Toka looked at the crest over her left shoulder. The charm is ever radiant, proving that his magecraft is active.
これは城で祖父を封じ込めるのに使っていてね。
I used this castle to seal away grandfather.
犯人汎用のドルイド層を閉じ込めたとまではいかないが、そうだな。私では郵便ポストぐらいの大きさが限界か。
I trapped that half yokai druid monk in a tower. Well, I say tower, but it's closer to a mailbox in size.
ほら、昔お前が壊した赤いポスト。ちょうどあれぐらいの可愛い鳥小屋だよ。
Like that red mailbox you broke, remember? About that big, but it's a cute little birdcage.
人間一人分をしまうには窮屈だろうが、祖父は肉体というより霊体に近い。見ようによってはそっちの方がふさわしいかもしれないね。
It's a bit cramped for one person, but grandfather's more spirit than body, so I guess it's more appropriate for him anyway. Toka stifled a sinister laugh or explanation chilling. The gold veneer seemed to slip slightly when it came to her grandfather. A smile betraying the long festering hatred she still clung to.
そういったわけでね、さっきの青子の魔術を防いだので、この刻印もしばらくは使用不能なんだ。
Anyway, because I blocked your attack, I can't use this crest for a while.
今のが本当の魔法だったなら、わずか3行の刻印では打ち消せなかっただろうに。青子、お前は僅差で負けたんだ。恥じることはないよ。
Though if you'd used true magic, a tree-lined crest wouldn't have counted it. You only lost by a slight margin, Naoko. You should be proud.
じゃあ、そろそろ終わりにしよう。
Alright then, let's wrap this up.
抵抗をするのは自由だが、ベオを相手にそれは辛いぞ。
Feel free to fight back, but remember you against Beo. Toka snapped her fingers one more time. The golden Velma was hiding in a school building. The signal to him echoed eerily through the surrounding woods. Before the echo stopped, Aoko shouted back at Alice.
行ってアリス。
Alice, go! The order sounded like a reprimand, but Alice silently obeyed. Without hesitation, she left Aoko behind to handle Toko and made for the forest. If defeat was inevitable, it would be pointless for both of them to die. If one of them could survive, there could be around 3. This was how Aoko decided to be the sacrificial pawn.
トウコ自身の切り札も分かったし、アリスが本調子になれば勝てない相手じゃないものね。
Now that we know what Toko's trump card is, if Alice can get back to normal, she'll stand a chance. Aoko muttered bitterly to herself as Alice's feet crashed through the snow. Instead of cursing her own death, she cursed the fact that she would not see Alice defeat Toko. For what else was it to curse except this? Alice disappeared into the forest. Feeling her fellow mage's presence fade, Aoko continued to glare at her sister.
いつまでじらす気？私、待たされるのは好きじゃないんだけど。
How long are you planning to drag this out? You know that I hate it when people make me wait. Speaking of waiting, the werewolf Toko had called was nowhere to be seen. It should not have taken him more than a few seconds to come flying out of the old school building.
そうせくな。今赤ずきんを追っているところだ。
What's the big hurry? He's after Little Red Riding Hood for the time being.
ロボ師の彼女をそう例えるのはやや無理があるがね。
No, rather, a little black hat to force a metaphor. Her tone reeked of irony. The words traveled aimlessly through the schoolyard like a rambling announcement. Aoko stood frozen and dumbfounded. Everything Toko was saying seemed far away from reality. Alice! Aoko was done being fooled, so she turned around. The moonlight shining off through the fallen snow allowed her to see far through the forest. From the white darkness, a lone boy came into view, walking toward her. He could not have been any taller than Aoko's chest, but he carried Alice over his shoulder with ease. As if she was nothing, he tossed her bodily upward. She arched through the air for several feet before dropping her head first before Aoko's eyes. Her neck would snap on impact. Even though she was wiser not to, Aoko reached out and caught her. Alice's light body weighed heavy as she fell into Aoko's arms. The stitches on her wound tore, dyeing Aoko's arms crimson. Aoko gritted her teeth, fighting the pain that shot through her body and the sensation of the warm blood. Alice, are you still? Alice did not respond, but Aoko could see she was at least conscious. The werewolf must have ambushed her right after she ran into the woods. Alice bled heavily from where the wolf tore her abdomen open last night, just like she had done to Aoko.
初めから森に潜ませていたとはね。
You were hiding in the woods this entire time. Cursing her own carelessness, she gently laid Alice's body down. She set her sights on the blonde-haired boy, her new target.
つまりあれよね。
So that's how it is, huh?
甘く見ていたふりで初めから余裕なかったんだ。
A wolf in a little boy's clothing. Even in the face of Aoko's rage, he did not stop smirking. He stared back at the girls, eyes gleaming, twinkling with excitement twinkling with the excitement at the brutality to come. The blonde hair and green eyes she saw last night. And as if familiar features now, seemed ephemeral, like he had changed into a being from another planet.
ベオ、今日は食っていいぞ。
You'll feast tonight, Bio. Togo's voice echoed from afar. The boy's grin broadened. Nobody could have expected what came next. Aoko rushed head first at the boy. Faster than a robin decoy, she spat, blood dripping from both arms. Toko watched wide eyes at the spectacle. Alice could only look on with vacant eyes as she lay helplessly on the ground. The werewolf boy was caught off guard with the becoming predator. Aoko crossed 20-foot gap in the second before planting a foot in the snow. It arrested her momentum and pivoted her body like a top. Even if he instantly understood what was coming, the boy wouldn't be able to dodge it in time. The neck. Using the momentum from a sprint, she pushed her like into the ground and sprang up. With deadly timing, a roundhouse kick swung in a wide arc toward the boy's neck, sending an explosion of force into his brainstem. Yeah, kicked a little shit. It was an expert display of martial arts, strengthened by the magical energy. She had gotten the hang of close combat while fighting Togo's purpose. The violent kick was powerful enough to shatter a tree trunk. The boy did not move. Aoko's right shin connected firmly and stopped. A shockwave rippled through his neck. It was the same feedback Aoko had felt when she restored the puppet. Even if he wasn't defeated, she had to have severely damaged his spine. Spine damage, I see. As she looked at him to confirm her kill, the boy simply sat back at her, not even bothering to twitch an eyebrow.
お姉さんの右足は確か噛み切った方だ。
that must be the leg I bit.
それで首を狙ったのはすごいよね。女の人は本能的に自分の体をかばうものだってトウコさんは言ってたのに。
I can't believe you went for my neck like that. I mean, wow. Miss Toko said that girls instinctively try to spite their own bodies.
けど残念。せっかくの勇気も無駄でした。僕の体毛の質はこの姿でも変わらない。産毛だけでもお姉さんの蹴りを受け止めることはできる。
It was a valiant move, but you wasted it. My hair is as strong as when I'm a wolf. Even my peach fuzz can stop your kick. The only one hurt between the two was Aoko. The leg shell lodged in his neck was totally numb, like it had been chopped clean off with a hatchet.
それに少しだけ迷いがあったな。くっつけたばっかりの足だからかばったでしょ。
You held back a bit too, right? You wanted to protect your leg, I guess.
人間が僕の相手をするならそんなこと気にしちゃいけないのに。
Humans need to forget that kind of thing when fighting me.
ああ、でも。
Still, the boy smiled, basking in Aoko's shock and awe. She could not free a leg. No doubt as soon as she regained her footing, he would tear her stomach open.
どっちにしろミンチだから気にしても仕方がないよね。
Well, you minced meat anyway, so I guess it doesn't matter.
ほら、もったいない。せっかく治ったばかりなのに。
See? What a waste! And it just healed up too. Marco was not sure, but it felt like she had sunk her finger into her flesh of her right leg. He was right about her leg, she barely had any feeling in it. It had been completely paralyzed after the last attack and was now back in the same horrid state. Except this time, instead of being torn to pieces, it had been crushed to the bone. Her leg might have been numb, but just the look of it was enough to horrify her, the way it crumbled, all that blood. Any normal person would have died from shock. As if thinking about someone else, Naoko considered how cruel magic risk could be.
あれ、まだ目が死んでない。
Huh? Still some life in your eyes.
あんまり苦しめたくないんだけど。頑丈なのも考えものだよ。
I don't
お
really
姉
want
さ
to.
ん。
I don't really want to torture you. You should drop the tough act. The boy thrust his hand out at Naoko's chest. Her consciousness flickered from the sudden pain of a stake. No, a child's fist piercing her torso. The scenery flew by. She saw through the air like a ragdoll tossed away by a bored child. Just like Alice a moment ago, she tumbled through the air and hit the ground, hard. Her right leg was crushed, her chest caved in. It was as if her heart had been scooped out of her chest. Each gasp of breath left her wanting more. Was this what it was like to see stars? The terrifying part was the pain, it never let up. Desperately trying to suck in oxygen, she could still feel his fists. Leisurely, the boy strolled across the snow towards Naoko's one body, his red tongue gliding over his lips. He stared at his prey who was desperately trying to breathe, his eyes filled with glee. Naoko bit down the temptation to drift away, even though she could find no reason to fight on. The snow had broken her fall slightly, but her death was all but certain. The fist-sized crater in her chest and her mangled leg made sure of that. Even though she knew she was a broken mess, a magic rest frantically walked to resuscitate her heart, but why? The sight of Toko in the distance was the only thing that kept her conscious. Her sister looked surprised for some reason, like she was witnessing some strange phenomenon that wasn't like her. Wondering what it was, Naoko tried to stay conscious. What's happening? Feebly trying to raise her head, she looked at where Toko was staring. Why did she look like that? Why did she look like that when she was so close to victory? His heart was beating faster than normal. The fragmented and disturbing images kept returning, and he desperately pushed them to the back of his mind. Never also shook his resolve. He did his best to file them away in an unseen corner of his consciousness. Right now he could only focus on controlling his breathing and his exertion. Just stay calm, he repeated to himself. He had not stopped for a second since leaving the church, even without giving a thought about what he would do next. So many traffic lights, so many people. It was Christmas, there was no way he could find a taxi. Waiting for one was not an option, it was why he had put a stress on his legs. He dashed through the city streets, he had found a shorter route than last night. His heart was ready to jump out of his chest, pounding like a hammer against a fire bell. He had no intention of giving up yet, but could not seem to calm himself down. In his precarious condition, even surrender seemed far too great of an effort to spare. Visions of horrible outcomes flashed through his mind. No, calm. He needed to stay calm. That was his only weapon. He was painfully aware that he was powerless. The best thing he could do was to keep his head on straight. While he wrangled with his mind, his pulse seemed to quicken with every step. The forest was faintly lit by the moon. It was more than enough on such a bare mountain. He followed two sets of footprints. Ahead lay a situation that had nothing to do with. Ahead lay a situation that had nothing to do with, just like at the amusement park. Even if you go, there's nothing you can do for them. The only effect of admonishing word said was hasten his pace. He pushed to the ground. He pushed the ground with his legs even harder, trying to leave his doubt in the kicked up snow behind him. Of course he was powerless. The pain in his chest told him so. At best he would be useless, and at worst he would be a liability. He recalled the binding spell placed on him at the church. It didn't matter. His body told him he would regret being torn to pieces less if he did nothing. Not only did his legs fail him as he went through the woods, though it felt as though it felt as though his heart could at any moment. No, I guess. Oh, never mind. His weakness screamed at him from within. Just like back at the amusement park. He was beyond reason or circumstances now. Ultimately, I just want to help her. This was all he really desired. His heart pounded a bit vaguer. As he ran through the dark, wintry forest, only one thing got gnawed at his mind. Not concern for the girls, no anger towards Toko. The red roses bursting forth from her limbs. Screams of agony like childbirth. The harsh reality of something beautiful dying. The nightmare was tenacious. Never again. Never again did he want to see something like that again, if he could help it. Just ahead was the forest clearing, with moonlight shone on the old forest building like a spotlight. Once again those thoughts crept back. He could not bear seeing something like that again. That was why he ran. But if he had to face it the second time, how could he stay calm? With a thought in mind, he arrived at the clearing. Somehow his frantic breathing, his rising and lowering shoulders stopped. No exhaustion, no inertia, just blankness, like his mind was frozen in time. It was the second time he felt like this. But the nausea and dizziness from the first time, the pathetic whining of the last few weeks, the doubts clouding his mind, they were all gone. Displaced entirely from his mind by an even stronger emotion. His heart pounded with the force of a sledgehammer. It was a primal sound, loud enough to bring him to his senses. One angry boy versus a werewolf. Who's gonna win? Soju stepped into the clearing, letting out a deeper, steady exhale. Although his eyes were locked with the blonde-haired boy, his concentration was focused inward. Be calm. Be calm. Every fiber of his being worked to control his breathing. The clearing told the story of Hoku's and Elle's crushing defeat. Hoku was lying face up in the snow, her white like bright red and crushed at the eye. Her eyes were glazed over, but Soju could tell she was still bravely fighting. Judging by her spluttering, she had taken a hard blow to the chest or back. Soju deduced it was most likely both. Elle's injury seemed less serious than Hoku's, but she lay motionless on the ground nevertheless. She was lying across from Hoku, face down in the snow, arms out in front, as if pushing herself up was too painful. Before the old school building stood the figure of a mage that they had seen before. Paying her no mind, Soju began to walk forward. Feeling calmer since arriving at the clearing, he advanced towards Hoku. Toko did nothing to stop him. No one noticed, but the faintest look of worry flickered in her eyes.
お兄さんもその人たちの仲間?
Are you a friend of theirs, mister? The child werewolf spoke remarkably, confident in his victory, and perhaps also eyeing up his new meal. Soju ignored him and kept walking towards Hoku. The complete disregard wiped the smile from the boy's face. Still, Soju carried on, the beast's feelings were the last thing on his mind. Once he reached Hoku, he looked down at her with a pained expression on his face. Strangely, he was at a loss for words. After a slight hesitation, all I could manage to say was...
That
wasn't very polite, Miss President.
行く時ぐらい声をかけるものだろう
You shouldn't have left the church without saying goodbye. His awkward remark was half scolding and half affectionate.
このバカ.
You numbskull. Despite the pain in his stomach, Aoko was able to throw an insult at his way.
安心した余裕あるじゃないか青崎
Glad to see you still have some fight in you, Awazaki. His voice brightened as if buying a bravado. The truth was that you barely had the strength to live. Despite that, Soju looked like he wanted to respond in his usual way. Something like, see Awazaki, you're too tough to die even when someone kills you.
あんた
People die when they're killed. You know. As soon as he tried to speak, she ran out of breath. Soju heard her loud and clear this time. He might have looked absent-minded, but he knew exactly how dangerous the situation was. Naoko knew because of his carefree sounding words did not match his expressionless face.
何のつもりで
What do you think you're... Before she could say doing, she coughed painfully. Soju pressed his fingers to his lips and nodded. Naoko could not quite believe it, but it looked as if Soju had been gestured to her to not speak.
だってほら状況はあの時と一緒だ
Isn't it obvious? It's the same as last time.
君がやられたら次はこっちの番なんだろだから協力をしに来たんじゃないか
If you go down, I step in, right? So I'm here.
まあ何もできないのもあの時と変わってはいないんだけど
Okay, I still can't do anything, but still. Naoko did not know what to say. She could only look up at him, amazed and awed. The werewolf stared at him, visibly frustrated. After all, he believed himself to be the noblest of all creatures. Ignoring him was treason, punishable by death. Had Toko not been there, he would have sunk his teeth into Soju's neck by now. He was sure he had been intimidating enough. However, his prey did not show any signs of fear. It was hard to imagine, but maybe, just maybe, this guy did not view him as a threat.
まあ誰でもいいんだけど筋張った肉は歯ごたえがあっていいし何より食い出がある
Whatever, as long as the meat is tender, juicy and filling, I don't care whose it is.
先にそのお兄さんから始めても構わないよね
Hey you don't mind if I start with you, do you? The boy wolf called out once again. Still not responding, Sergio raised a hand to his nose. Cool, calm and collected. Paying no mind to the boy yet keeping an eye on him.
匂うな
Something reeks.
Hmm?
Everyone present was confused. No one seemed to be able to smell anything but him.
へえ何が匂うっていうのかなお兄さん
Oh, what do you smell, mister? Bu's voice retained his usual arrogance, but was tinged with impatience. The boy was unable to hide his irritation at being ignored. Finally, Soju turned to face the boy in a short distance from him.
品のない肉の匂いがするこれだから犬は嫌いなんだ
It's like rotten meat, and this is why I hate dogs. His voice was filled with disgust and contempt. Soju was mainly speaking to himself, but the werewolf boy had never felt so insulted, even if that was not Soju's intention at all. In a moment the wind picked up, perhaps signaling the change in the werewolf's mood. A fiery gale whipped around, carving patterns in the snow.
ソジロ
Sojiro, sensing he was about to be killed, Aoka desperately tried to move, but the broken body would not respond. After hearing Sojiro's insult, Alice was unsuccessfully struggling to get to her feet too. In complete contrast, Sojiro stood there, firmly unfazed. The little blonde boy's well of patience had run dry.
そうか要するに僕が子供だからって舐めてるんだね
Oh, I get it.
お兄さんは
Oh, I get it. You're underestimating me because I look like a kid, huh? Big mistake. His time playing human was over. And the major boy transformed. He grew larger and larger, golden fur sprouting from his pale flesh. His mouth grew razor-sharp fangs, his hand grew claws. Drawn from the magical energy in the air, he transformed into a preternatural beast, evolved in the shape of a human.
中華の許しは出していないぞベオ
Beo, did I say that you could transform? Toko yelled at him, but the werewolf did not respond. He only had deep breaths of hot air.
そんなバカな話が
Did you really just? That is all Soju could say in response to the boy's metamorphosis. Such a transformation was the stuff of nightmares. What was worse, the beast now towered above him, but it was enough to make anybody question the reality itself. Amazing. Seeing his brave reaction satisfied the werewolf, and his mouth twisted into a satisfied grin. It was a strange one, this guy, but meat was meat. However, the beast's arrogance was short-lived. The prey breathed a sigh of expiration before speaking.
それじゃあ本当に犬そのものじゃないか
You really are a dog. You could hear a pin drop even in the snow. Aoko, Alice and Toko were all dumbfounded. Were they really seeing a human not just stare a werewolf down, but insult it with his face? He simply couldn't believe it. Soju doesn't give a fuck. It was too late. Any trace of the wolf's pride or dignity faded away. He almost finally realized that the wolf was serious.
ベオ殺すな
Beo, do not kill him. Bitoku's command fell on deaf ears. The wolf prepared to lunge, his emerald eyes fixed on Soju not 30 feet in front of him. A mere 30 feet. A half second was all he needed. Another half second to bring his claw down and slice his prey from head to toe.
死んだよお前
You're dead. A roar of joy as unbridled fury echoed far and wide. It was the only warning the werewolf gave as he exploded towards Sojiro. 1 second. A golden blood swept forth in a furious gust, too fast for eyes to follow. In the face of unworldly speed, there was only one thing to do. Soju stepped forward, a silent shadow opposite the beast silhouette of the incoming werewolf. He needed exactly 3 paces. He bet his entire life around 3 feet of distance. In the blink of an eye, death would be upon him, yet he did not show the slightest indication that he would avoid the lunging behemoth. The wolf's foreleg slammed into the ground with earth-shaking fury. His back muscle tensed up so much that he seemed barely contained in his frame as he swept a raised path downward. Soju's small step neatly evaded his claws. He had a different motive. He was merely positioning himself for the next move. His intention was never to avoid anything. From the beginning his mind was focused on but one thing. 1 point to aim for. 1 mind. 1 breath. He picked a perfect opening in the wolf's torso, a precise microsecond between contradiction and relaxation. At 1 point alone was the crack in the dam of life. He punched the werewolf in his chest with his feeble human strength. There was a dull thud and a burst of blood. The twisted flesh and gore were all Soju's own. The werewolf raised a claw convulsed. From an insignificant impact, the beast's body was the first to collapse, then his spirit. There was a moment of utter incomprehension. The wolf opened his jaws and tried to pull air into his lungs. Gasping, he began to topple forward. His slender figure slipped down around to his flank. The next blow pierced him like a spear. Ignoring his mangled left arm, the silhouette whirled around and drove his right elbow into the collapsing werewolf's back. There was another muffled impact. The second strike penetrated the exact same spot the first one had, crushing the beast's heart. This time the blood that flew into the air belonged to the gasping wolf. Soju got hands, damn. The werewolf fell to the ground, choking on his own blood. He did not get up. He showed no sign of life. It was over. There was no remorse, no hesitation in the brief act of violence. The perfect, furious golden beast lay still. Felled in a mere 3 seconds. No sane person would have bet on this outcome. Damn. His breathing calm, the victor stood over the fallen behemoth's body.
なんで僕が
But how? Even as the beast lay crumpled in the snow, he could not grasp what had happened. His heart ruptured, cutting his own blood flow to his body and brain, leaving him helpless. That much he knew. If he was a normal creature, he would be dead. As it was, it was a trifling inconvenience. Once his heart was repaired, his body would heal as well. It was not as if he had been struck by magecraft exceeding his own mystical nature. It was a little different than the Great's need. Which was so strange. Your heart does not stop from a Great's knee.
思い出さないと
What did I do wrong? The werewolf frantically searched his memory. He managed to remember right up until the moment he raised his claws. But what had come after that? Given the right transformation, he knew he could withstand even a cannon blast. How the puny human dropped him? Wait. Before that, he could figure out exactly what his opponent did to him. The moment he got in close, yes, he had felt a small impact. The attack was so accurate that it probably only affected his heart. Huh. Ridiculous. Even if that was possible, there was no way that alone could stop a werewolf's heart. In the end, no matter how much he thought about it, nothing added up. The answer was out of reach for a werewolf with no knowledge of being backed into a corner, left alone the limits of human skill. Only one thing was certain, he had lost. He tried to piece together the sequence of events. The explosion in his chest, the flash of white. After that, as he was falling over, he took another blow to his back. It was the one that disrupted his heart.
ふざけてる。そんなことで僕が。
This can't be. There's no way I could lose? Indeed. It was physically impossible. The boy gnashed his teeth and tensed his body in indignation at this unfair conclusion.
そうだ。こんなのは嘘だ。同族でだって僕を任せる奴はいなかった。
Oh, I know. None of this is real. No other werewolf ever managed to lay a claw on me.
こんな痛みもこんな事態も全部嘘だ。
This pain, the whole situation, isn't really happening.
不合理に狂っている。
It makes no
だっ
sense.
てこの僕が他の生き物に負けるはずが。
Who on this planet could beat me? Enough thinking. He was ready. From the ground he glided his enemy to the side.
負けるはずが。
I don't lose. The very next moment, an unknown time of pain coursed down his spine. It had eyes, cold eyes, staring, piercing, colorless. The moon looked more alive. Its arms were broken. It was an inhumanely powerful attack that mangled them beyond recognition. If it was in pain, it would have cried out. But it was silent. Was it ever alive? Those dead eyes. He's seen eyes like those before. Those eyes without hatred, without joy, without any feeling behind them at all. It was a mindless insect. The werewolf's hell stood an end. It was a creeping chill crawling up his spine. Having never experienced fear, the werewolf did not know what had become of him. Despite countless clashes against all the mystics, it had been a human that had broken. He knew beasts even larger than himself. He knew legendary creatures like himself. He did not know this. He never met, much less imagined, a human-sized bug. The chill down the werewolf's spine was so vicious it threatened to split him in two. If he moved even an inch, it would crush his skull underfoot. In spite of the despair gripping him, the boy paradoxically sensed that his opponent wouldn't move at all. This human would not exhibit any further violence. It was a creature, no, a stone that held no animal instincts. It masqueraded as human. The contradiction grated against his heart, his values. A phantom born of an unknown emotion, fear. It wasn't just grating, it was like many needles slowly digging into his heart. This had been his first taste of doubt, of reality. Such contradictions existed in the world after all. There were irrationalities and questions you did not want to hear the answers to. It hurts. The suppressed pain suddenly flowed through his body like a raging river. This was also a first. Until now he had always been able to control pain. He had never known what it was like to tremble. An elemental might have felt sorry for him if it were here to watch. How sad, born complete, like just the lunacy of the human world. It hurts so much. His heart had fully regenerated. Howling in mental agony, the beast clutched his own trembling body. Those eyes, those human eyes looking straight through him. And then the boy realized the only reason he was still alive. Even with both arms broken, the human could have finished him off with its legs. But it mattered not, because his opponent was giving him a taste of his own medicine. This was not revenge for trying to kill him. This was revenge for the wounds he inflicted on the girls. The absurdity of it all made his throat tighten. His breathing was frantic. This human had no sense of self. He had no concern for his own safety when it stood between him and the girls. It happens to be right had no hate or fear, or perhaps no intent to even kill him. Indeed, the fact that he was alive had nothing to do with the human's will. The fight was machine-like, so was his judgment. An eye for an eye, nothing more. If the werewolf had killed one of the girls, this exchange would have ended differently. If I'd killed him, I would have been killed? He shuddered at the thought. He had never entertained such a possibility. He never had to, because he was supposed to be the exception to the rule. Agony kicked him hard in the gut. No matter the mystic, nothing was immune from injury from decay. The boy had finally understood the obvious law of the world. Or rather, he had been taught. He would have killed me, I know it. Those eyes, who was all stopped staring down at him. Retribution was a universal law. He was now painfully aware of that fact. And yet, the one who brought forward his idea was a human. The pain of defeat, the pain in his heart, the pain of comprehending the incomprehensible. Pain. The impossibility of it all had shattered this perfect world. It ate him, it consumed every fiber of his being. The doubt made his head spin. It was too much. Humans were impossible to understand. I'd have been killed. He had not been made to face the death of another but his own. Unable to cope, he reverted to his human form. Quietly. He shivered like a frightened child in a mother's lap. Still laying in the snow, Oko choked on the words, unable to entirely comprehend what had unfolded. Sojo, you... She could not hide the trembling in her voice.
Nani?
What? Speaking in his usual way, Soju nonchalantly turned toward her. What do you mean, what? Do you even know what you just did? She shouted angrily, as though she had done something wrong. Soju looked surprised, wondering what on earth he had done to upset her. He lowered his gaze back to the wolf boy. Knitting his brow in dismay, Soju finally realized what Oko was referring to.
Oh,
that's weird. That's weird, Awazaki. I thought you knew. He looked at her in disappointment. Knew? Knew what? What are you talking about? Feeling slightly affronted, Oko responded curtly. Soju aside. Bears are actually pretty common in the mountains. Remember me telling you that? Huh? Oko's jaw dropped. It took her a moment to process what he had just said. She recalled some meaningless conversation from who knows when. Are you making fun of me? Good grief, why did they train me to fight bears of all things? Yes, now she thought about it, he had spoken about that. He'd mentioned being familiar with large beasts, and she couldn't deny that he nearly uttered him some anachronistic nonsense about training against them. Which man? He was used to dealing with animals larger than himself. He lived a sort of life that involved run-ins with wild bears, and then a man-wolf might have been surprising, but not particularly frightening. Oh, going her head. After all this time, who really was it that made no sense? Soju would make a good inhabitant of Kansokyo. No common sense allowed, huh? Okay, you win this one, Soju. It was hard to tell whether she spoke in admiration or exposition. Either way, as she sliced in the snow, Oko spoke quietly spoke quietly enough so only she could hear her words. Toko, on the other hand, understood exactly what had transpired. Bayo lay fallen, now just a sobbing boy, and another boy stood over him with two shattered arms. Near fatally wounded, Oko and Alice could still not stand, but had recovered enough to breathe. As for Toko, she only had a few tracks up her sleeve, maybe 3 or 4 more wounds at best. The magic rests on her back were unusable. She could use the remaining magical energy from the field imprisoning her grandfather, but that would be stupid. If she released her grandfather, she would lose ownership of the sacred ground. Failing to defeat Oko and Alice now would mean starting over from square one, and she could not afford that. The sibling rivalry had to end. Toko had gambled on everything on a surprise attack, using the fact she was still in Naozaki to infiltrate Misaki's defenses. For 3 years she had labored, selling her work to the association. And she had used 20 years of worth of hair to immobilize an army of familiars. It was now or never.
だが私は失敗した。
But I failed. She had overestimated the werewolf's power. It should have been enough. Against mages alone, Beowulf himself would have been enough to ensure complete victory. But things did not always go according to plan. Beowulf's incredible strength was conditional. She knew he was not infallible, so why did she prepare the contingency plan? Her heart was cold as ice, Toka studied Sojiro, who stood tall. His arms were a hideous mess. The arm he used to strike Beowulf head-on and barely resembled an arm. His bones were bent out of shape, his muscles were torn to shreds. To say his arm was simply broken would be a gross understatement. Streams of crimson ran down his other arm onto the white snow. The elbow he drove into Beowulf's back was likely shattered, and his muscle and tendons torn up to his shoulder. Judging from the state of his arms, it was doubtful he would be able to use them again. Whereas in his arms was his left leg. He left no Where's that? Oh wait, no, I'm reading that wrong. Whereas in his arms were his left leg, and no doubt his internal organs too. He had used the leg to take full brunt of Beowulf's charge. At glance it looked fine, but was not just a usual hunk of meat attached to his torso. His insides were worse, supporting the weight of Beowulf's ruptured his spine, causing widespread internal bleeding. Basically, he was a dead man standing. A bird with clipped wings. Living like that would not be living at all. He could barely stand, let alone fight again. In contrast, the collapsed werewolf was unscathed. Only once he had covered blood. The majority of the pool of red in the snow was Sojiro's. A crimson tapestry telling the story of a boy who stood strong in a defeated werewolf.
当然だ。衝撃には反動が伴う。
Every action has an equal and opposite reaction.
拳を振るうのなら相応の負担がある。まして相手は人狼。
You strike, and you face the consequences, especially when you hit a werewolf.
走ってくる鉄の壁を真っ向から殴るようなものだ。
It would be like punching a moving freight train.
それを。
Did he? Perhaps he had known what would happen. Animals instinctively limit their strength in order to protect their body. Compensating for physical weakness with intellect and technique was humans' forte, and had clashed at showing humans in the very best, and yet it had also been beyond human. He had attacked without concern for his own safety. Without self-preservation in mind, he could go beyond human capability. Enough to strike through the steel like fur of the legendary werewolf. But who would have thought that a beast able to withstand a shot from a tank would be felled by a mere human?
いや、違う。
No, that's not right.
ためらうことなく殴りつけたから壊れたのではない。
The boy didn't break because he struck without hesitation.
初めからあれは壊すことを前提にしていたな。
He struck knowing it was going to break. He sacrificed his entire body to destroy Beo's heart. Toka felt a chill come over her as she went over in her head what had transpired. It should have been a nightmarish scene, but she was captivated by the supreme display of physical rationality. From the outside looking in, she had witnessed not an accident but a rational consequence. In an instant, the boy had put his entire being into piercing Beo's chest. As soon as he laid eyes on Naoko and Alice, he had committed himself fully to the task. He sized Beo up, synchronized with his breathing, found his weak point and calculated the exact positioning, timing and distance he would need to hold his ground. He knew that he had to do what he had to do to win, and he did it with everything he had. It had nothing to do with instinct. A wild creature could not have tried to beat something it could not. Only a human would risk his life when faced with the impossible. That contradiction fed his attack. He twisted his body from heel to his neck to focus his energy. If Beo had simply tried to run Sojiro down, the werewolf probably would have won. But the beast wanted to rip him to shreds, or rather, he was baited into doing so. After Beo charged when he planted his feet, he raised his claw and swung downwards, putting him off balance. His pulse was erratic, his movement wild, in that moment he was vulnerable. That was when Sojiro made his move. The beast had overwhelming power, but was sloppy. Whereas the human concentrated all of his meager power into a single point. That is how the human shifted the balance to his favor. The follow-up elbow attack would rupture Beo's heart. It was a graceless second strike. A sloppy blow no different from Beo's. The elbow was not only able to penetrate the golden beast's fur because of the first attack to his chest.
あの時点でベオは丸裸にされていた。
He left Beo well
無
open,
敵の
wide
人狼
open.
がその機能の一切を休止させられた。
took away his invisibility for a split
つ
second.
まり
Basically. The strike was not meant to break, but to disable. All living creatures had weaknesses. No matter how strong the creature is, it had weak points and weak moments. Not just physically, but mentally too. A time when they aren't in their best shape, unable to focus or find motivation. Sickness or a lack of sleep or food, for example, can cause the body's rhythm to go out of sync. For a variety of reasons, intelligent beings risk losing their ability to function properly. Legendary beasts are no exception. I need to take a drink here.
弱点欠点をつく魔術なら知っているが全てを投げ打って弱点を生むとはな
Weaknesses. I know some magecraft that targets weaknesses, but I've never heard of a technique that risks everything to create a weakness. The boy's strike to the heart was not an attempt to kill Bio. It was designed to create a weakness in something that had none. The elbow attack took advantage of the break in Leo's invulnerability.
加えて笑えることに不意打ちですらない
Laughably, it wasn't even a surprise
レオ
attack.
の神経の伝達速度なら毒が当たった瞬間に感知し対応できる
With Bio's reflexes, she should have been able to react.
だがそもそもそれを毒と認識できなければ変形のしようもない
But he didn't even realize he was being attacked.
毒ではないものが毒になるなんて落とし穴を誰が教えてやれるものか
How do you teach that even something non-threatening can be a threat? She was frustrated to say the least. The boy was totally committed, utterly selfless. He bet his life in a single moment without expecting a single thing in return. The boy had acquired the experience and skill to do such a thing. It was not a miracle of luck, nor a miracle of passion. It was not talent, tenacity, or hatred. Without constant intense training, no one could destroy their own body in a whim like that.
子供には相手が悪かったようね
He made a poor opponent for a child. Seeing Veo cowering in the snow, Toko was disappointed in her own lack of foresight. She accused him for his talent alone, ignoring his inexperience. If Veo was not a child, his life experience might have given him the strength to bounce back and devour Soju after regenerating.
ベオを責めるべきかそれとも君を評価すべきなのか
Should I scold you, Veo, or should I praise you? Toko quietly lifted her hand. Nobody noticed. Standing far away, the boy standing there looked like a hunter from a picture book. He had a slender build, but it was likely because he intentionally shed any excess. Given what she had just witnessed, his cluelessness had to be part of the act of a hunter. As she thought to herself, she suddenly remembered. The first thing that crossed her mind was the first time they spoke. Man goes to church once and becomes to kick a chat.
そうだったな
I remember now.
それは忘れていたかったよ宗十郎君
And now I so wanted to forget, dear Sojiro. Not soon as she had felt a sliver of sentiment, she returned to her unshakable resolve. She was raised as the heir to the Aozaki household, taught never to question the morality of her actions. That was why, even now, she knew exactly what she had to do. Give me a second
で
here.
もよかった
I'm glad that went well. Sojiro muttered, unmoving perhaps because of the pain of his broken arms. He did not look at Aoko. Instead his gaze was focused on Els, who was lying prone away. Some way away. Aoko thought he looked lonely.
よかったって何がよ
That went well? What did? She asked, spurring him on. They were mere steps from each other, close enough to touch hands. The quiet voices carried in the stillness.
私たちが無事だったからなんて言ったら怒るわよ
Don't you dare say that you're happy we're alive or I'll be so pissed. She was not joking. Sojiro turned away from her slightly, shaking his head.
口にするのは3度目だけど青崎の心配はしていないんだ
I'll say it for a third time, but I'm not worried about your safety, Ozaki.
いやさっきはちょっと意識が飛んだようなんだけど
You know, I could swear I blacked out for just a moment. He said as an embarrassed smile crossed his face. The first time he outright fainted, but the second time his passion pushed his dizziness and nausea aside. He just calmly did what he could as best as he could. Nevertheless, no matter how calm he tried to be, he'd been infested with very real rage.
ふんじゃあ何が良かったの宗十郎
Okay, Sojiro, what is it that he thinks went so well? Aoko's voice had a slight tinge of annoyance. Sojiro
だっ
responded.
てようやく約束が守れたそっちだけが約束を守ってるのに こっちは果たせなかっただろ。
Because I was finally able to keep my promise. You held up your end of the deal, but I hadn't delivered yet.
それがずっと気になっていたんだ。その機会があって本当に良かった。
It always bothered me, so I'm glad I got the chance to set things straight. His relief expressed itself as a small but heartfelt smile. Naoko listened, astonished. For a moment she could not recall what promise Soju was talking about. When she remembered what he was talking about, when she told him all that time ago in the amusement park, her mind went blank.
あいつをやっつけるのに協力したら俺のことは見逃してくれる？
If I agreed to help you kill that thing, will you let me go? He proposed a deal, but in the end he hadn't been of any use. He must have been eating away at him this entire time. Naoko had considered the agreement binding, but only for herself.
あんなどうでもいいことを。
You were worried about that? She muttered in disbelief. Soju gave a nod and affirmed with a tiny voice.
約束は自分のために果たすものだって教えてくれたのは青崎だ。
You're the one who taught me that promises are things you make to yourself, Aozaki.
だから君が守っている限り俺も守らないといけない。
So as long as you keep your word, I need to keep mine.
ずっと俺はそうしたかったんだ。
Phew, what a weight off my shoulders. As if listening to a confessional, Aoko stayed silent. She could not find the words to say anyway. Soju approved every enigma. Taking such a trivial promise so seriously, and speaking so sincerely about it something so basic. She could not wrap her head around how he had beaten the werewolf, but his personality, it was a true mystery. It was no use trying to figure that out now. To Aoko Aozaki, he was a riddle wrapped in the enigma, wrapped in a conundrum.
それじゃあ借りは返したから帳尻はゼロだ。
So, I've paid my
こ
dues.
れで貸し借りはなしだぞ、青崎。
We're even, Aozaki. Soju said lightly, perhaps attempting to break the silence. Normally this would have passed her by, but she saw his kindness for what it was.
貸しがついたのはこっちの方よ。
It's me who owes you one now.
これじゃどうやって返していいかわからないじゃん。
I don't even know how to begin to pay you back, Aoko grumbled. Soju nodded in happy agreement.
それより青崎の足なんか塞がってるな。
Anyway, your leg looks a lot better.
もしかしてもう立てるのか？
Can you stand? She shot him a stubborn look as to say, well, duh, obviously. Ever amazed by her grit, he offered her his right hand. Despite being broken at the elbow, to Aoko it looked as sturdy as ever. By all appearances, it was beyond recovery, and it would be for the rest of his life. Even so, he seemed able to ignore the pain for Aoko's sake.
ほんと、あんたってバカ。
You really are hopeless. She uttered under his breath, looking up at him. As much as she hated to admit, she could not refuse his hand. Resigning herself, she reached out to Sojiro. But her hand never reached his. A small bell chimed. A line of wind whipped through the air. It cut through his waist, like a guillotine. Oof. Pieces began to fall. What were those things dropping before her eyes? Aoko could not remember who they belonged to.
そ、しゅろ。
Sojiro? That used to be his name, right? The name of whoever lay in the red snow in front of her. His face now rested on the ground beneath her chin. The smell of viscera assaulted her nostrils. A river of blood flowed from what used to be his stomach. It happened so fast. Too fast for her mind to process, in fact. Her only solace was that he probably didn't suffer. How could she think that so calmly, especially after what she had witnessed? Her blood boiled at her own stupidity. Which begged the question. How should she treat the one who did this? She had used all of her anger on herself. She had not enough to give to anyone else. But this hatred was hers and hers alone. Her problem was this. Could she muster the emotions from this drought of anger? She was not sure, but the thought of hunting them down made her smile unconsciously with anticipation. Aoko turned to the old school building, where Toko was standing with her arm out in front of her. She had used the same rune magecraft she had used against Aoko and Alice, except Sojiro had no magic rest. Toko's amber eyes were narrowed, staring intensely at the fallen corpse. As to what she might have been feeling, Aoko could not care less. Even if Toko felt regret, Aoko would never forgive her for as long as she drew breath.
やはり君からこうしておくべきだったな。
I should have killed you when I had the chance. Toko was not speaking to Aoko but to the dead body. There was no response. No clouds of breath. Coming to terms that he was truly deaf, Aoko pushed herself up to her feet.
案外無様ね。
That was surprisingly gruesome for you. Facing her sister in the distance, Aoko spoke hoarsely.
でも正しい選択だわ。これで勝負はやり直しだもの。
But you made the right choice. Now we can finish this. She turned away from Soju and stared at Aoko. They stood far apart. Stared at Aoko? Wasn't this supposed to say Doko? They stood far apart. Further apart than the position made them seem. There was nothing left to say. The two of them exchanged words in respect and the fact they were almost sisters.
ああ、魔術刻印という私の切り札はこの通
Yeah,
り
I
で
think that was a typo.
人狼というカードもお前の切り札の前に敗れ去った。
Right. You've seen the aces of my sleeve, my magic crest, and a werewolf you've trumped.
だがそちらも刻印を使い切り彼も今息絶えた。
I've used all my crests up, and your trump card has been torn to pieces.
互いに決定打はなくなったわけだ。
Stalemate.
そうね。私も甘かった。人狼が再起不能になった時点で、あなたが敗北を認めたなんて勝手に思い上がるんだから。
Looks that way. I suppose I was naive too. I should have known you would accept your defeat after your werewolf failed.
本来ならそうなるんだけど、あなたがそんなに諦めがいいのなら、この町に戻ってきはしないものね。
If you weren't so stubborn, you'd never have come back to Misaki.
本当に甘かった。
I really was naive. It was clear to Toko that Aoko was trying to suppress emotions. Aoko was right though. His sister had counted on Beowulf to succeed. As mages, no matter what cards Aoko or Alice had in their hands, they were helpless against the werewolf. But then Soju had shown up and Toko couldn't win as long as he was around. Unfortunately though, he had stopped the werewolf, and he had been defenseless against mage. So she had to kill him. With Soju out of the way, no one could hold Beo back. It would take time for him to recover, but as long as his wounds were only mental, that could be overcome. Alice and Aoko could try to attack again before he recovered, but Alice was being kept in check by the poison, so Toko still had the advantage. Still. The battle would drag on. Unless Aoko were to use it. Powdery snow began to roll around. The air around her wailed. It was magecraft that descended all that was mystical. The key to miracles beyond human comprehension ready to show itself.
やる気のようね、青子。
He did always love to fight, Aoko. Toko released the crest maintaining the fields. With that, the grandfather would be freed and the barriers around Misaki would be restored. Which was not what Toko wanted, but it was vital for her life. The crest at her disposal were now twice as powerful as her sisters. Aoko gazed at the new threat with her eyes half closed. None of this was her concern. Far removed from the situation, she was searching for something hidden deeper inside herself, desperate to reach it. And there it was, an odd feeling, like picking up algae. It was not the fire of emotion, it was not solid nor great. It must have been what people meant by rising to the occasion. Abandoning thought itself, Aoko held onto that feeling as she stared at her enemy.
いいわよ、トウコ。
Alright, Toko. She spoke softly, yet more loudly than scream.
お望み通り、本当の魔法を見せてあげる。
You want true magic? You've got it. Focusing her power in the dim crest on her right arm, she weaved her words together. A single incantation. A final heartfelt farewell. A brilliant blue-collar magic, taking time back to when a certain someone had been blessed. To put it simply, magecraft is human wisdom. It is the world as we know it. Magic is a singularity that exists beyond either of those two. At the beginning, the first changed it all. Next, the second recognized many. In answer, the third showed the future. Further, the fourth concealed itself. And the final fifth had long been lost in significance. Someone once said had it only ended at the third. Magecraft is a study of history, feats of our making and a life orbiting the planet. But true magic is a providence of a god beyond the heavens. Why do those who stand on the earth extol the virtues of miracles beyond humankind and the planet? This was an undeniable sin. Magic was the enemy of humanity. That is why those who obtain a new magic are killed by the Red Shadow.
聞け万物の霊長
Hear me, prime species of all creation. Haruka's voice resonated through and high above the winter skies. The air began to fracture, turning the scenery into broken glass. Toko wondered whether she would fight or flee. She decided to try and keep her feelings in check and see this through. But the object of her obsession for so many years was right in front of her. Rationality was slipping from her grasp. Moreover, her fates were now uncertain. Toko had an overwhelming advantage when it came to her quest in the terrain. When it came to true magic, however, if the Aozaki magic was anything like Alice Corny's fairy tale monsters, then mage strength was not part of an equation. At this point, it was Toko against magic itself, and there was no winning against truth. The transcendence and idiosyncrasies of true magic render things like magecraft irrelevant.
だが
But can you? Toko stared at her sister, wondering if she could actually use it. Her proclamation lacked conviction. She had raised her voice, but that was out of discipline, and it had not been the arrogant conviction to sacrifice someone else for her own gain. Having not been chosen to inherit it, Toko could not imagine what the magic in her sister was. Only that it was a force violent enough to change the world. No human mind could withstand the audacity required to make an enemy of the world itself. Especially not someone as indecisive as her sister. The power of magic would surely cripple her. Well, feeling Toko's eyes on her, Aoko doubted herself. She could not help but hesitate. Terror gripped her heart tighter.
でもだからって
I have to. She could not run away forever. Her hesitation and terror meant she would never forgive herself for stopping now. Closing her eyes, she pushed herself into the final stage. Time stopped, like a light being switched off. She submerged herself into her own darkness. Everything froze, only she moved. Everything around her disappeared, and she passed through a limitless stream of stars. And as soon as she did, she wanted to disappear into the empty, thoughtlessness place she arrived in without any answers. Not again. The Red Shadow would surely come this time. Suddenly, I saw a new memory. Possibly because I tried in order to make the trade for. I heard a familiar and that new sound. I wish for nothing. I seek nothing. Only to fuse with the consciousness. It hurtles backward in time to zero. This sound, a bit sad and meaningless, pulls me by my hair. But I have to resist. The red ghost was always going to be my biggest hurdle. I must forget the value of life. I must forget the dignity of death. And the sound persists. It's got nothing to do with this journey. It's just an external distraction. And yet I think I finally understand. I know what noise had been making me so uneasy. What the unsettling whispers were directed at me, or perhaps the Red Shadow was perplexed. But a quiet soul listening to it. It glares at me, its eyes full of hatred. How could it be so unprepared? Don't tell me. You can be serious. You're going to turn me into your prey for that? That is your everything. You have nothing else. The effect of rewinding, the decision to never say never. His prime, his meaning of his life. She negated it. She used her superior power to negate that sound which was an absolute rule to him. She just brushed it aside, it was like a cobweb. The sound disappeared, a new one replaced it. I wish for nothing, I want nothing. A pure obedient heart. And that's why you get nothing. A life of falsehood led by information. This is ridiculous. My legs move towards the future, but they stop. Change of plans, I'm taking a different path. Nothing's changed, just something has made me real mad. How can I put it? You call this a pest, you idiot? If I don't complain about something to someone, I'll explode. Even if it's just to the voice of he who hears it. Or to the part of me who just stays quiet and watches. Or to the one who did that to him. With no answers, I open my eyes.
告げる
And I declare, Naoko released everything that she dragged up. As for what was there or what she saw, she could not remember. All she held onto was the fury that burned in her heart. Pushed on by something, she didn't know what, she opened the door to magic. Her change was extraordinary. Beneath her the snow vanished, replaced by a small patch of lush green grass. This ground had never existed under the frozen blanket, had been rewritten into a new landscape. The very elements rejected her, as if the world itself was fighting back. The electrical discharge lasted her body. This miracle threatened to destroy the world. The world had to protect itself, it moved to expunge her. Pain scorched her every cell, trying to tear away her consciousness. But she did not falter. All this pain and this loneliness was to take her to the root. Ever since inheriting true magic, she had suffered this torture time and time again. She contended against the voiceless protest of the cosmos. The burden engulfed her retinas and her nerves in flame. And then... light. She finally understood. She remembers why she came back and why she wanted to scream.
青を示す我が名において告げる
By the name Blue, I speak for order, hear me. The censoring voice told her to stop. At the edges of oblivion, I had touched the true form of magic. The snarling red shadow was there, telling her it was no use. So much doubt, so much fear. But such things mean nothing to her, to me. I do not care about the magician's obligations or the destruction of mankind. I'm sick and tired of hearing about it. I've only one reason for doing anything right now. Just, God, I can't believe I'm saying this out loud. I just want to save him.
No, say
All is not safe, yet all shall be right. A blue whirlwind whisked up around her. Casting aside the doubt and sorrow, the magician played a trick upon the world. Time for backward. Childhood memories were overwritten. White flowers appeared as far as the eye could see. Brighter than snow, they rippled like a wave across the world, devouring it.
Wow.
5 timeless words, all the rest fallen to ruin. It was the cloud that had come to be. In this time and place alone, the fifth magic had made itself known. In the blink of an eye, the snowy clearing had transformed. A sea of fully bloomed white flowers blanketed the grounds. Only the dilapidated school building and the bare winter trees signified this was the original world. The once cold wind now blew with a pleasant warmth across the landscape. Even the night sky was once again teeming with stars. If one reached out, one could almost touch them. It was a mix of comfort and solitude, quiet enough to carry on the sound of insects flying through the air. It seemed far removed from the impurity and grief of humans. A world with nothing, yet one that needed nothing. It was its most precious memory. The winter tundra changed into a spring meadow. Aoko's so-called true magic confused Toko. Sure, it was pleasing to the eye, but she wanted to see something less idyllic. Aoko's spell was clearly no small feat, but the surrounding manner had not changed. Better to be confused though than to deal with something like Alice Cornelius flat start. The only changes seemed to be the flower field and Aoko's appearance. She seemed to have received some enhancement to her physical form, but it would never be enough to match Toko.
確かに魔法といえば魔法だが
Okay, so I know this is magic, Toko said with a hint of annoyance.
あいにくとお互い夢見る年頃ではないんだ
But I'll be honest, this is a letdown.
まさかそれで終わりではないだろ
There has to be more to it, surely. This can't be it. Toko began walking through the sea of flowers. But she was not heading towards Toko.
いえこれでおしまいよ
This is it, for me and for you.
あな
Aoko's words sent a wave of unease through Toko. Her sister's voice seemed different somehow. It was mostly the same in pitch, so it had to be the tone. No, that was the same too. Something was off, could it be? It was then Toko noticed something else that had changed. Not just Aoko in the clearing. The severed body lying at Aoko's feet, this was now walled. Corpse reanimation, wound healing. It did not look like Aoko had used a significant formula, and besides, regenerating a body did not bring it back to life. Since the dawn of time, even true magic had never been able to bring back the dead. But the body of the boy behind Aoko was moving, it was breathing, like it was taking a nap.
死者の蘇生が青崎の魔法
Can the Ozaki magic resurrect the dead?
あれは蘇生というより
No way, this isn't just resurrection, it's... Before she could think of an answer, Toko realized what seemed out of place before her. Aoko's mannerisms obeyed beyond her years. Her appearance had changed ever so slightly, but beyond that it had been changed from within. By the time Toko arrived at a seemingly impossible conclusion, Aoko had closed the distance between them.
タービセッ
Aoko raised the left hand to the eye level. Toko could see, no, hear the magical energy generating inside Aoko. It was a sound Toko had never heard before. Aoko only possessed a single function, low-grade circuits no better than any third-rate mage, so she generated magical energy at a much lower rate than Toko. However, the speed was absurdly quick, moving even faster than the blood pumping through her body. Magecraft could vibrate, but how the hell were the activated magic circuits audible? Even the association had never heard of such a thing.
我が目前に勝利ありき
Onward to victory. Spurred to action by the sudden dread she felt, Toko hurriedly carved runes into the air. Toko summoned the divine protection of victory, Tear, to surround herself with the barrier, which was further enhanced by a quest. Paying it no mind, Aoko held her arm steady, not moving enough to strike her target directly.
展開
Bullets deployed. Aoko commanded herself succinctly. This was beyond magecraft. In just a few words she had fired 20 magic bullets. Like a meteor shower, the bullets smashed through the rocket-proof rune barrier as well as Toko's spell-woven coat.
装填ではなく展開だと
You shot them without loading. The protective runes lining her coat screamed. They would not be able to take another barrage like that, and she had already taken internal injuries. She loaded to admit it, but Aoko vastly outclassed Toko in terms of raw power. Even harder to admit is that the sister probably hasn't even brought out a big gun yet.
アンサズソウェルイングズ
Jumping backwards, Toko threw more rooting symbols in the air. In her response, the crest burned brightly, but
遅い
too slow. With a single word, Aoko nullified the runes, dissolving them before they could even be given meaning. The power of Aoko's words had surpassed the magical energy of Toko's rune magecraft. With the runes nullified, Aoko continued advancing through the white flowers. From her calmness to the robust spinning of her magic circuits and her breathing, she was different. A woman with sublime self-control, a trait only found in mages with a lifetime of combat experience.
あれは時間か
You traveled in time. Given the evidence, it was the only explanation for the Ozaki magic. Aoko's magic circuits had not been amplified. It would have been impossible anyway. Like Toko, she would have to externalize them, which would just increase the scope of her magical energy and techniques. By nature, the quality of a mage magic circuits did not change. But Aoko was now clearly a superior mage to Toko. So there was only one logical conclusion. In an instant, she had grown from an amateur to a veteran. She fast-forwarded her own time. The scarred red mage turned back to her sister and ran. She knew she could not win, so she fled towards the school building. Oko did not fire. Not out of pity, but because she deduced that an attack at this range was risky. She went to chase after her sister, but stopped suddenly. A few words caught in a trove. She took a small breath.
アリス、そいつ、お願い。
Watch him, Alice. She sat slightly embarrassed by the maturity of her own voice. White petals flitted through the air. Without looking back, she made after Toko, her long hair flowing behind her. Huh? His eyelids snapped open. At last Soju awoke from his long slumber. Lying on his back, he gazed up at the stars. The trees around him created a portal into space. Despite seeing all of this for the first time, he felt an uncomfortable sense of deja vu. So many questions. What happened before he fell asleep? Why had he been sleeping? Everything was just so hazy. It was like he had walked out of the door one minute and woken up in bed the next. With so many thoughts clouding his mind, he could barely recall his own name. All he could remember was a girl he'd never seen before. There was something thin around his neck.
Shizuki-kun.
Sizuki. The voice quiet but clear belonged to the girl named Alice Konju who was at his side. Oh yeah. He sat up, mumbling incoherently. The black-clad girl knelt next to him. Flowers. He said, paying no mind to Alice. Under the blue moonlight, pink flowers swayed, surrounded by dead trees and snow. Against the curtain of night, white petals danced in the breeze like butterflies. Staring along and hard at the spectacle, Soju suddenly raised his fingers to his neck. He moved carefully, like he was touching a wound. Then gradually began squeezing, harder.
Shizuki-kun.
Sizuki. The voice of the girl beside him brought him back to reality.
せっかく戻れたのに。また行くの。
Leaving so soon? You just came back. She sounded both sad and reproachful. But Soju did not understand why. Seeing the uncharacteristic concern in her eyes snapped him to his senses.
行くってどこに?
Leaving? Nowhere to go. His fingers fell away from his neck. Without answering, she blankly looked at the sky. There was only the infinite darkness of space.
いいや。それより俺は何をしてたんだろう?
Well, whatever. What was I doing again?
なんか変だ。ごちゃごちゃしてる。
My head felt strange, like it's full of cobwebs. Soju tailed his head in confusion. Alice observed him emotionally. This bewildered boy was a far cry from the well-made short work of a werewolf. Then again, this was Sojuro. As she stared at him, she realized she did not have an answer he could understand. So she tried asking a question. The same question she asked him repeatedly as he slept but eventually gave up expecting a response to.
今まで、Shizuki-kun は何をしていたの?
Tell me, do you remember what you were doing, Sizuki? A quiet question was spoken like an enthralling spell of magecraft. Such spells seemed to work and Soju sank to a sea of memories. Atop the bright white hill, he quietly sat for a while like siblings.
誰かの声が聞こえた気がする。
I remember hearing someone's voice.
何かを聞いているようだった。けど、自分は最後まで一言も返せなかった。
I think he asked me something, but I couldn't respond at all. Though consumed by the darkness of death, he could still vaguely recall the girl's question. He was not aware that he had died, but it seemed a fragment of time remained from when he had been with her. Sergio's expression darkened, filled with regret. Looking at his profile, asked him further.
それで、欲しいものは見つかった?
And did you find what you were looking for? Remembering that someone had asked him questions, he gave a slight nod.
ああ、そうだった。
Yeah, I did.
けれどね、アリス。そんなものは見つからないって思っていたんだ。
But I honestly didn't think I would, Alice.
ずっとそう思っていた。
This whole time I didn't think I would. The regret in his voice was accompanied by a hint of strength. Lowering his gaze, Soju saw a white flower garden that looked like something from the afterlife. It shone brightly, captivating him.
思い出した。青子の前でざっくり言ったんだっけ?
I remember now. I think I got cut in half in front of Oko.
なのに生きているのはどういうことなんだろう。
But am I alive? Soju sat, prodding his body curiously. His arms were the old sleeves again. Their old selves again, but what of Oko? He turned toward Alice and toward Alice for an answer. We sat among the flowers looking sullen.
巻き戻されたのよ、しずきくんは。
You were rewound, Sizuki.
この風景も本来はあなたの記憶だけど、わからない。
This place is from your memories, don't you remember? Alice seemed to be speaking in riddles.
俺の記憶って、その割には知らないところなんだけど。
Nice interruption. My memories? That's weird. I'm drawing a blank.
今しずきくんの時間は青子に使われているから、それが戻されるまで思い出すことはないわ。
Right now your time is being used by Oko. Until that time is returned, you won't be able to remember. She answered ominously as she cast a gaze on the flying garden.
でもこれが消えてしまうのは残念ね。
A shame all of this won't stay.
元に戻れば思い返せるのは私だけなのに。
Once your time is returned, I'll be the only one who remembers. Looking at the white blossom, she smiled momentarily.
うん
Her words only confused him further.
アリス、君答える気がないんだろう。
You're not going to tell me, are you, Alice? He said dejectedly, prompting Alice to face him. What emotions lay inside his deep eyes?
意味のない話だけど聞きたい？
His partner's having me tell you, but do you want to hear
聞き
anyway?
たい。アリスが教えてくれるならなおさらだ。
Yeah, if it's not too bothersome, Alice. Soju nodded enthusiastically while Alice took a deep breath and closed her eyes. When she spoke in a caring tone she was capable of.
結論だけ言うと、あなたは一度死んで生き返ったの。
The long and short of it is, you died, and then you came back to life.
しずきくんが瞳子さんに殺されてから、青子が目を覚ますまでの5分間分の時間を巻き戻して。
After you were killed by Toko, Aoko rewound to 5 minutes before you opened your eyes.
その時、あなたは10年近い年月を青子に使われた。
Meanwhile, she used roughly 10 years of your time.
二人とも肉体年齢は変わってないから、中の時間だけ持っていったんでしょうね。
Until the sun blew your switch. Neither of you changed physically, so she must have borrowed time from you mentally.
だから今、この景色を懐かしく思えるのは青子だけ。
That's why right now this beautiful scenery would only bring back memories for Aoko, in possession of your time.
そして、
And once the time exchange was over, neither Aoko nor Soju would remember what happened during those moments. And Aoko used someone else to channel true magic and did not affect her alone. If she had rewound time for us only herself, then temporal inconsistencies would form a part of her own experience. However, this was proper time travel. The inconsistencies would be corrected. When the magic ended, both Aoko's memories of this place and Soju's unfamiliarity with it would be corrected. This miracle will become unrealized. Only the observers would remember this brilliant white sea of flowers, Alice and Toko.
時間を持っていく？
She borrowed my time? Soju asked, instead tilting even further than Alice's general explanation. She recalled how Aoko said that if you gave Soju a roundabout explanation, he would stop asking questions, even if he did not comprehend it.
しずきくんを生き返らせる方法はなかったから、命の復元より死そのものの回避を青子は試みたのよ。
There was no way to resurrect you, so instead Aoko attempted to circumvent your death completely.
まだ青子には無理なのか、それとも今回もひよったのか。
Perhaps because she was unable or because she was
大き
hesitant.
な操作は避けて小さな操作、自分とあなただけの交換にとどめたようね。
She avoided any large-scale manipulation and settled for a small exchange between the two of you.
あなたは今5分間だけ時間を飛んだことになるわ。
That means you effectively jumped through time by 5 minutes.
仮に遠い未来、この時間を検索できる人がいたとしても、あなただけは誰にも見つけられない。だって時間軸の上にいなかったんですもの。
Even if someone from the distant future was able to look through time, they couldn't find you in those 5 minutes because you don't exist in regular time anymore.
そして同時に青子は自分の時間を上乗せするためにあなたから時
Simultaneously,
間を借り受けた。
Aoko borrowed your time to advance her
多
own.
分幼年期の時間でしょうね。個人の時間操作は 忘却している部分の方が楽だと聞くし。しずきくん、
More than likely time from her childhood. From what I understand, individual time manipulation is easier when using forgotten memories. Sizuki? Should have slowed down, Alice asked with her eyes. While Sojourn was not.
つまり2つの奇跡を青子は行使したの。
So, Aoko used two
あ
miracles.
なたの体の巻き戻しと自分の体の早送りね。
She rewound your body and fast forwarded her own.
しずきくんの時間に介入する際、ついでに10年分の時間を借り受けて未来の自分を持ってきた。
And going into your time, she borrowed 10 years of yours to bring her future self
だ
closer.
から今瞳子さんを殺そうとしているのは27歳分の時間を持った青崎青子ということになるわ。
Therefore, the one trying to kill Toko right now is actually now an Aozaki Aoko with 27 years of experience. What on earth was Alice talking about? Soju's expression gave away his thoughts, though the part about Toko made him furrow his
瞳子さ
brow.
んを殺すって青子が
Aoko's going to kill Toko?
もう終わってるでしょうけど。
If she hasn't already, yes. As soon as Alice answered, Soju spat off. Kicking up white petals behind him as he ran, the brave boy who defeated the werewolf was back. Alice watched him go. On the snowy night, the same boy ran down Shiru Inuzuka hill for her too. Soju entered the old school building. Lights flashed and the sounds of destruction exploded around him, threatening to turn the air into a burial ground. Still, he remained focused.
ほら、
See, Yoko?
悪いけれどやっぱり無駄だったわ。
Sorry, but I already knew this was gonna happen. Her words only reached the white flowers around her. Aoko knew Soju too well, so she wanted Alice to stop him. If he tried to interfere in the battle against Toko, she could not protect him this time. This guy is a suicide wish, doesn't he? But it was too late to celebrate Aoko's judgment now. The girl in black had no intention of going after him. She simply sat for a while, gazing forlornly at the transient flower garden. I think I need to take a drink again. The storm of magic bullets struck down a hill of lightning blades. The major workshop was their home base and the last line of defense. It featured an abundance of defensive spells designed to cut down the base and challenges and thieves. The old school building was no exception, painstakingly rigged by the puppet master and the rune mage Toko Aozaki. A reflection of her bizarre obsessions, the workshop was set to indiscriminately destroy any intruders.
足止めぐらいは果たせバカモン。
Stay still for one damn second, you freak. Toko complained as she ran down the hallway, activating her traps along the way. But nothing seemed to work. None of the runes, regardless of their quality or quantity, could slow her system down. Her reaction speed and ability to predict attacks would only be described as transcendent. Even magic bullets she fired from both of her arms were too much, destroying the runes and the very walls that house them.
それで一人前のつもりか単細胞め。
Is this all that you knew
熟
from
成し
maturity
た
has
ところで
gotten you?
壊すことしかできないとは呆れたな。
The ability to smash things like a kid? Child, kid, same thing. As she spat out her words, the ceiling opened, increasing the pressure from the runes. Invisible walls popped up in the hallway. Aoko stopped and swung her right leg upwards. Straight towards the ceiling. Her foot cut through the thick air like a knife through butter, shattering the ceiling and the runes along with it.
あんたの方こそいつまで経ってもこの凝り性。
You're one to talk, always going overboard.
どこもかしこもルーンだらけ。少しは遠慮ってもんがないの？宇宙要塞張りに改造してんじゃないっての？
Don't you ever get fed up creating runes? You're not trying to build a space fortress.
みんなの思い出の校舎なんだからもっと大切に扱いなさいよね。
This building holds precious memories for people, so show some damn respect. The wooden boards along the hallway that had withstood decades of winter snow were now destroyed. Aoko charged forward. Chaos was inevitable. While Toko's runes cursed the living creatures, Aoko's magic bullets destroyed all without prejudice.
優雅さのかけらもない。
You don't have an elegant bone in your body.
あんなのが自分の妹だと思うと。
To think you are my sister. Toko would do anything to change her blood, but there were more pressing matters at hand. The girl rushing her now was not the sister she remembered, but rather a more complete version of her. Toko couldn't afford to let her guard down for a second. But
笑わせる。そんなものが魔法であるものか。
this is supposed to be magic, don't make me laugh. Localized time travel. Toko didn't believe that was the true nature of the Awazaki's magic. Aoko's transformation had to be a mere byproduct of true magic. She couldn't make heads or tails out of the depths, even with Aoko having achieved it. At the very least, it was not so simple as a miracle. After all, the concept of time travel was already made possible through the second magic. Record manipulation, revision of possibilities, and so forth involved in the operation of parallel worlds. So there was no way that could be the fifth magic.
となると、次に出てくる疑問はこれか。
Which brings me to my next question. Aoko,
青子、貴様、その10年分の時間をどこから持ってきた？
where the hell did you get this 10 years from?
あのボンクラからよ。悪い。
From the moor on the outside. Not a problem.
後で返すんだから。あんたに非難される覚えはありませんけど。
I'm going to give this time back after, so don't you dare judge me. That makes sense. There was a bias, but the amount of time on this exercise will be changed. But...
では、あの5分間はどうする？
So, what are you going to do with this 5 minutes?
まさか私を始末した後、彼を元の状態に戻すのか？
To finish me and then return him to his former state. Is that your plan? Aoko stopped in her tracks. Togo took aim at Aoko's glaring oversight. Awazaki magic and Aoko's humanity were very inconsistent.
そうだ。時間操作では死者の蘇生は許されない。
Yeah, you can't revive someone by manipulating
お
time.
前がしたことは一時だけの気休めか。
All you've done is console yourself for a moment. The magic crest on Togo's back began to demonstrate her true worth. Drawing upon the magical energy stored in the crest, she materialized the largest trap yet in Norway.
あるいはより罪深い暴虐ということだ。
Or maybe you committed an even greater sin. 3 runestones appeared. The scale and level of magical energy were wildly different from the other runes. Created by Toko herself with the Mage Association, they were replicas of one of the lost primordial runes created by a Nordic giant. 3 thin crystalline lenses amplified the carved runes tens of millions of times. They rendered projectiles like magic bullets and effective. Even if Aoko's magic output far exceeded Toko's, these giant slabs are several times more powerful still. Aoko's signature magecraft could only release magical energy, so she had no way to defend or evade the attack. Pushing herself on, Aoko took a deep breath of resolve. Instead of defending or dodging, she went low and charged into the rune storm. You don't even exist within this time axis, do you? Infuriated by the realization, Toko set the magic crest on full power. To repeat its second-long burst of time travel, Aoko was able to avoid the runes completely. She was either sending her attacks and impacts to a different time, or laying several thousands of herself on top of one of another. Whatever, no way she could keep up the kind of magical energy output. The one down. Aoko kicked the crystal slab to pieces. 2 remained, distance 30 feet. Toko had 10 seconds of magical energy left, which is all that she needed. Aoko, on the other hand, would stop now if she had any common sense as a mage. She couldn't continue breaking the rule for much longer. Then again, time travel itself was breaking the rules.
Aoko!
Once again, Ogo used the same technique. Toga's suspicion turned into white-hot hatred. She couldn't care less about time travel formula. It was the amount of magical energy she had. How was she pulling the energy necessary to jump through time for so long? Wait, I knew it. It was the death of Soju Sizuki. If she had brought him back 5 minutes to when he was still alive, why would those 5 minutes go? Ogo's magic wasn't using parallel worlds to change this one. She had only rewind Soju's 5 minutes. And logically he'd return to being a corpse as soon as the magic had ended. Time travel that didn't change the world couldn't change the past. Therefore, if she wanted to save him, she had to either truly resurrect him, or send those 5 minutes of reality somewhere far away without returning them.
2枚目
2 down. Aogo showed no sign of slowing. From behind the crystal barrier, Toku glared at Aogo with disdain.
答えろアオコ貴様彼の時間をどこにやった
Answer me, Aogo. What did you do with this time?
そこにあった熱量の帳尻をどうやって合わせている
How are you going to balance all that heat?
そんなの知るかあいつの時間なら遥かな未来に置いてきたわよ
How the hell should I know? I tossed his time sword into the distant future. What? 15 feet to go. Faced with such madness, Toku wanted to cover her eyes. She put the depth of the present into the distant future. A time paradox would have been more humane. Such an enormous haphazard consumption of heat could not be allowed. After all, time travel alone required a massive amount of energy. Magical energy was required to bring things from somewhere else. At the same time, losing something that exists here consumed an incredible amount of energy. I read about the magical energy used for cooling. If it either fell out of equilibrium, it would mean total chaos. The distortion caused by our magic would come to affect the entire sector of space.
バカここに極まったな
How in the hell can you be so dumb?
何千億年後に来る宇宙の死滅人類の行く末に待つデッドエンドにさらなる負債を押し付ける気か
You're going to parallel depth into the dead end that humanity will reach. You're going to lay it at the feet of the heaters in the universe.
この星の頭上に隕石を作っているようなものだぞ
It's like hanging a world-ending meteor over the head of this planet.
というかお前の重みでこの星を押しつぶす気か
Why are you planning on crushing the earth under your own weight? What? That last comment made Aoko's wide open. Every staggering exerted so much force the wicked floor was beneath her feet.
その時はその時で今度は負債を過去に送ってやるわよそれなら文句ないんでしょ
I'll worry about that later. Next time I'll put the depth in the past. Is that better?
歪みに潰されるのは過去だけなんだから
And only the past will be crushed by the distortion.
それで解決したつもりか
Is that your master plan?
現在が確定している以上過去を消滅させてもいいと
Save the present by destroying the past?
それでいいのは私たちだけだ問題の総量宇宙の負債はどうする
And that saves us. But what about the heat problem and the burden of the rest of the universe? Exactly. Even if the universe were closed or the present were still expanding, the absurd increase in heat consumption would become uncontrollable. That which waits for the end of the infinite expansion, infinite consumption, and infinite growth is a future without hope. The nothingness before creation, eventually the universe would burn up.
青崎の魔法はその結末をより確かなものにするだけだその責任をお前は
The Aozaki's magic only makes its conclusion more certain, and this on you.
言われなくても分かってる
Don't you think I know that already?
責任なんて私が生きてる間に何とかするわよ
They'll figure it out. As long as I live, I'll figure something out. 5 feet to go. The moon blast now carrying all of Toko's hatred focused into a scorching hot laser beam. Her body being torn into by the intense heat and her emotions raging, Aoko drove her feet into the ground.
責任を取ると言ったなではその具体案は
Oh, you'll take responsibility, will you? How exactly?
そんなのこれから考えるに決まってるでしょ
I said I'd figured it out, didn't I? Starting now.
お前は最悪だ
You make me sick. Toko's last defense was shattered. close enough to connect the two major Elisa magecraft. Red runes, blue ether, and a cascade of magic bullets. Toko Aozaki's crest were torn to pieces, and so was Toko herself. It was just as Alice said. By the time Soju arrived, it was already over. The old school building's wooden boards had survived the elements for decades, but they were not ready for a mage duel. The entrance door hung off its hinges, but the floorboards groaned. The stairs were ready to collapse underfoot. Toko's escape and Aoko's pursuit had left a trail of destruction leading all the way to the second floor. The chaos continued to the end of the hallway, by the stairs on the third floor. Toko sat in a heap with her back against the wall. Despite her injuries, she kept her eyes firmly on Aoko. She was bleeding internally and had multiple broken bones. She would not be moving anytime soon. Possibly damaged by Aoko's flying kick, her mystic eyes had ruptured from within, closing them indefinitely. Despite her battered and broken body, she was still breathing steadily, a testament to her stubbornness. Before her stood Aoko, staring down at her, uninjured.
屋上までは持つと思っていたんだが。
I thought I could make it to the roof. Toko was not trying to be facetious. She sounded genuinely disappointed. Aoko responded with a cold glare. Her eyes had not changed one bit. They were colourless as ever, yet undeniably beautiful. From where she stood, Aoko held her hand out towards Toko. Like her hunter about to put a wounded brain out of its misery. The victory was decided. The mage came to steal land and got a death sentence for her trouble. The silence was disquieting. Moonlight peered through the demolished ceiling, illuminating the two sisters with its stare. The utterly mad sibling squabble was over. Now the fireworks were finished, and the cold wind had returned to claim the old school building.
何か言い残すことはある？
Any last words? Aoko's voice cut through the silence. What you were doing, Laura? Yeah, don't worry about that. That's just Discord being stupid again. Toko thought for a moment before lightly patting her coat pocket. Nothing, she frowned.
最後に一服と思ったが、あいにくお前を待っている間に吸い切ってしまってね。日本のタバコはうますぎていけない。
I thought I'd have all spoke, but it looks like I burned through them all. While waiting for you. They're bad for me anyway. Japanese cigarettes taste too good. Aoko gave a small
な
nod.
かなか常人には真似できない遺言だったわ。
Not exactly the last words I was expecting.
待て待て。いくら私でも遺言まで謎かけをする気はないよ。お望み通り、敗者は敗者らしく当倍を上げるから聞くといい。
Wait. Okay, fine. Tough crowd. I'll give you what you want. The meaningless final cry of a loser. Toko's voice was laden with sarcasm, but not hostility or hatred. Perhaps the vendetta was not directed at Aoko herself, but rather a product of two sisters born into a mage family.
青崎の魔法が時間旅行に端を発するものとは思わなかった。まだ事情がありそうだが、当事者ではない私には何ともね。
I never thought Aozaki magic would be time travel. Some kings obviously need ironing out, but that's not really for me to say.
ボンプにはわからない悩みだ。せいぜい大事に付き合っていけばいいさ。
What would I know anyway? Just take it seriously and you'll be fine.
しかし、10年経ってもそれでは先が思いやられる。アリスは何をしていたんだか。
The fact you took 10 years to figure it out doesn't give me confidence though. I expected more of Alice.
アリスにしてはよく付き合ってくれた方よ。魔術師としてはいつまでも半人前っていうのが彼女の結論。
Alice helped in her own way. She doesn't think I'll ever make a wheel mage though.
けどまあ、そうね。
Can't say I disagree.
あの狼とならいい勝負をしたんじゃない？
That wolf would have made for an interesting match.
あれはダメだ。敗北を知ってしまった。もう完全じゃない。
Him? No, he uses now he stays to defeat.
半人前に値で勝っていようが、魔法の前には得意性を見失うだろう。
Before he wielded magic, perhaps, but he's lost himself now.
ところで、青子。
Tell me something, Argo.
お前の魔法とやらは手段か、それとも結果か。
Your magic, is it cause or is it fact? Drago wanted to know if it came before or if it came after. Did Oga need magic to get her where she needed to go? Or did she obtain magic as a result of reaching the place?
あとよ、私は扉の前で尻尾を巻いたからジジイの思惑なんて知らないけど。
In fact, I turned tail when I got to the door, so I never found out what the old man was thinking.
第一魔法と同じ経緯か。ますます業が深い。第2から第4はその場所へ到達するために生み出されたものと聞く。
Then it was the same process as first magic, even more sinful. I heard the second through the fourth I created to reach that place.
同族嫌悪は世の常だ。いずれ第一と食い合わなければいいのだがね。
If opposites attract, I guess similars repulse. Better hope the first doesn't bite back.
しかし扉ときたか。魔法の継承とはパスの継承のようだな。ではやはりここにユミルの入り口があると。
But you reached the door then, which tells me magic inheritance is similar to path inheritance, so Ymir's entrance was here all along.
北欧かぶれのあなたにとってはね、私にとってはアカシャの門と言えるものよ。
Oh, and that's a Scandinavian name. I call it the Gate of Akasha.
最初からそれを狙っていたんでしょ、あなたは。
And but you are after the whole time, correct? Tokyo used every ounce of her strength she could find to
望め
help.
ば手に入るというのに何代も待つのは嫌だったんだ。ソフトはそれで決別したようなものだったよ。
And it was going to be mine, but I couldn't wait generations. That's where grandfather and I parted ways.
青崎に対する復讐心はそれには優先されなかった。
From then on, I had better things to do than chase revenge.
まあ全ては終わったことだ。もう語る必要はない。
Well, it's over now. No use talking about it anymore.
最後に根源に触れた感想が聞きたいな。
There's just one last thing to ask. What was it like touching the wood? Togo spoke after taking a deep breath. Her last words showed no trace of hatred. Naoko remained silent as she began raising her right hand up. She recalled her grandfather's orders. The source of true magic. Revealing one's knowledge or impressions of the wood was strictly forbidden. But this was her sister's dying wish. Maybe it would be okay. The conversation would end the moment she brought her arm down. Then this rotting shell of a building would become a sibling's tomb. What harm could it do? It's not like she planned to follow her grandfather's rules anyway.
白状するとね、姉さん。
Didn't have a confession to make. Naoko's voice carried through the blue hallway.
正直、全然わからなかったわ。
To be honest, I don't remember anything. Naoko gave a blunt reply and brought her arm down like a bolt of lightning. Or at least, she tried to. God damn it, Sojiro. Her arm wouldn't listen to her. It wouldn't budge.
何のつもり？
What are you doing? Cursing out as Oko spat a question out with venom. Sojiro materialized from behind, taking hold of her raised arm. Though unable to express this, Togo was shocked to see him too.
で、話して。
Let go. Without looking at him, or even her restrained hand, Aoka spoke sternly, her eyes forward. Come to think of it, at the amusement park he appeared out of nowhere to protect her from the puppet.
聞こえなかった。二度はないわよ。
You'd have, I won't say it again. She was not bluffing. If he interfered, even he would be given no mercy. I've decided to let you live. It would go against that promise, but he would know better. Even so, he maintained his grip on her arm.
いい加減に。
Do you? Aoka turned around. The word told was caught in her throat. She immediately regretted looking at him. She saw herself in his expression. Mournful sadness, judgmental anger. His conflicting emotions spoke to her of her own internal struggle. Voicelessly, quietly, without volition. Rustic grey eyes questioning a deep sin.
言いたいことがあるならはっきり口にしなさい。
If you got something to say, then spit it out.
それができないなら消えて。
Otherwise, get out of my face. Soju gently released Aoko's arm as he maintained a resolve. They locked eyes, neither friend or foe. Their bitterness clashed without words. And then suddenly,
人殺しはいけないことだ。
murder is wrong. Soju stated in that matter-of-fact way of which Aoko had become all too familiar. His words were empty, trite even, and yet given her current state, they reached her. Although she would soon forget the fragments of Soju's memories, they made her painfully aware of how he felt. Still, he could not agree with him, and she could not agree with him. It would come back to bite her if she let Toko go now. His sister would come again for her again. She had already made 2 attempts on her life. Aoko did not have it in her to forgive her sister for what she had done. Above all, just as Toko said, if Aoko did not change, she would be a novice forever. She had not even won her first mage battle yet, and she knew putting down a blood relative would require even more conviction. Nevertheless, his words echoed all over in her heart. Murder is wrong. Such a childish phrase, but the earnestness with which he said it was enough to make her sick. Resisting, Aoko glowered at Sojiro.
だから殺されたくせにその相手までかばうっていうのあんたは。元気になったら懲りずにやってくる殺人鬼が相手でも見逃してやれっていうの。
So what? She's just killed you, and you're going to protect her? You're going to let her go so she can come back and kill you again when she's recovered?
まさかそこまで言ったら聖者だ。
No.
自分にはそこまでのことは言えない。
No, I don't have it in me to be a saint. But he would probably still let her go. He didn't think that Toko would change. He also did not care to rationalize her actions based on her life. He was simply thankful. Thankful that this person before him is still alive. You seem pretty damn saintly to me. This was what had made Aoko so angry. His overwhelming innocence and self-righteousness enraged her, like the Hall of Mirrors was happening all over again. The only difference was now she knew why he was acting like this. It was because she had taken a part of him. He took a step forward, passing her by, saying words he knew he should not.
仕返しなら殺された人間がやるのが筋だろう。
If it is revenge we're talking about, it seems logical that the guy who was murdered should be the one to do it.
君を止められないのは分かってる。
I know I can stop you.
だから青崎がやるぐらいなら俺がやる。
So I may as well do it, Aozaki. It was difficult to discern who was more pathetic in all of this. Toko had been staring at him the whole time, close to all the wires, drifting off to sleep.
ごめんなさい、トウコさん。
I'm sorry, Miss Toko. Knowing her fate, Toko dropped her head as best as she could as he walked toward her.
そうだな。君にはそれもいいかもしれない。
You know, it's better if you're the one to do it.
今は特殊な状況だから、冷めた後に君がどれほど悔やむことになるか想像もできない。
Things are crazy right now. I can't imagine how much regret you feel after all this and calm down.
ただ、それで君の停滞は終わるだろう。晴れてみそぎ落としというわけだ。純粋に祝福してあげられる。
But you'll be out of purgatory. You can shake off yourself and move on.
気に食わないのは、それを決意させたのが私ではなかったということぐらいか。
The only thing I regret is, it wasn't me who made you like this. She knew that Soju could not understand, her words hanging in the air as she closed her lips tightly. Then weakly stuck out her slender neck. Soju took another step forward. Before he could do anything, Oko moved, spinning in front of Soju as she cut off her magical energy and swung her hand as hard as she could. The sound of her slapping his face echoed through the hall, along with the staggering steps.
青崎。
Aozaki?
卑怯者。
You coward. Tears of anger welling in her eyes, Oko turned her back to Sojiro, still looking as though she would kill him as soon as she looked at him again.
他人の記憶を取り込んだ代償か。引きずられたな、青子。
That's what you get for taking an old person's memories. It must have gotten inside of your head, Oko.
そうよ。自分の意志を人に曲げられるのがこんなに悔しいなんて知らなかった。
Yeah, I had no idea it took so much to have your own will influenced by someone else. It was all but all who could mutter in response. The corners of Toko's lips curled into a grin.
何がおかしいのよ、あな
That's
た。
so funny.
いや、お前にも人並みの情けがあるとは思っていなくてね。
Nothing. It's just, I didn't think you were capable of normal human compassion.
バカ呼ばわりは訂正しておくよ。他人の理想を背負うのに怯えるなんて10年経っても可愛いじゃないか。
And being scared of taking other people's burdens for 10 more years. You're not stupid, you're adorable.
あんたね。
Now listen here.
そう睨むな。今のは心からの賛辞だ。
Don't glare at me like that. I meant what I said.
で、私をどうする？彼に殺させるか、それとも見逃すか？
So, what's going to happen to me? Are you going to let him kill me or I'm going to let me go?
仕方ないでしょ。あなたの言う通り、これが何よりの代償だったんだから。
It's not like I have a choice. Like you said, this is my reward. Aoka said begrudgingly, shooting Soju a sideways glance. He seemed to have recovered from the slaps and his usual absent-minded look had returned. He may have had no memories of his past, but his morals and values were too deep to be erased. Soju was trying to violate those. It would eat him away forever. And he would be doing it not for himself but for Aoka. Aoka understood this all too well now. The moment he said he would do it was the moment he lost. Not stopping him would be no different from watching him die. And she would lose something important inside of her. Aoka did not want it to happen.
青崎、やっぱり自分の受けた傷は自分で返さないと気が済まない性格か？
Ozaki, don't tell me you're one of those people who has to enact revenge on their own terms. Aoka ignored Sojiro, who seemed to have gotten the wrong idea. Instead, she directed her scowl at Toku, who still lay collapsed in front of her.
わかったわよ。トウコ、今回は見逃してあげ
You
る。
don't regret that one. Fine, I'll let you live this time,
け
Toku.
ど、ただで帰れるとは思ってないわよね。
But don't think you can just come and go as you please. Toku scowled at her little sister, standing smugly over her.
祖父のところに突き出すのなら、ここで引導を渡してくれ。
If you're planning to hand me over to grandfather, you might as well kill me now.
まさか。私もあの人には会いたくないもの。あなたにはこのまま出て行ってもらうわ。邪魔もしないし、教会に届けも出さない。
Yeah, right. I don't want to see him either. You're going to leave this place, though. I won't get in your way or send word to the association.
律子は私が言い含めておくから、今回の件は私たちだけの秘密よ。
I'll be reporting what happened to Ritsuka myself. This will be our secret. Toku's brow creased further. There had to be a catch.
青子、何を企んでいる？
Oko, what are you scheming?
別に。その代わりに呪いをプレゼントしようと思って。今まで散々ガンド食らってきたし、おあいこでしょ？
Nothing. Just thinking about which spell to use on you. But I won't use Gander. No. You've tasted that one enough already.
まあ、私のはちょっと強力だけど。
Yeah, because I have a mind that's a little stronger.
今後この土地に入ろうものなら、マダガスカルガエルになってもらうわ。
If you ever show your face around here again, you'll turn into a frog. Smiling as if they'd just arranged to eat Chinese food tomorrow night, Oko walked toward Toko.
待て、
Wait,
なんでそういうものだけ習得してるんだ、お前は。
who taught you how to do something like that?
そりゃ師匠がアリスだもの。偏るのは当然でしょ？
My mentor was Alice, of course. She always was an odd duck, wouldn't you agree? The other Ozaki sisters brow knitted so hard it could have produced a sweater. Perhaps this is why her sister would stay in love us forever.
宗十郎、席外して。
Sojiro, get out of here.
覗き見が趣味なら別に見ていってもいいけど。
Unless you're a creepy pervert, then go ahead and watch. I don't care. As she spoke, she began removing her sister's overcoat. The uncomfortable look in Toko's eyes compared to the strangely tearful one in Oko's caused Miss Sojiro to hesitate. Was it really okay to leave the two of them alone? Eventually he nodded. This was just a weird game between sisters.
覗き見は確かにいい趣味じゃないな。
Best not to be a pervert. Muttering more to himself than anything, he ducked into an empty class room.
なんだそのブサイクで悪趣味な術式は。センスがないにも程がある。お前本当に私の妹か？
Hey, what kind of dumbass formula is that? Are we related?
この通り、芸術的才能は全部姉貴に持っていかれた哀れな妹でして。嘆くなら自分の天才性を嘆きなさい。
Toko?
I'm afraid so. You took all the artistic genes for yourself, without thinking about your poor little sister. If you want to blame anyone, blame yourself. Down the cold, dilapidated hallway, cries of sadness, joy, and anguish rang out. I see. Outside, the fully bloomed white flower petals floated one by one into the night. Standing among the bell of petals, Alice gazed up at the sky. The blossoms gathered into a cloud and slowly vanished, as if they were falling asleep. Soon not a single flower would remain, and the clearing would return to a snowy tundra. The magic had ended. In a matter of minutes, the past would return to its rightful place, along with the time shared between the boy and the girl. The old school building was still. Alice embraced the silence and patiently waited. After a while, Sojiro emerged from the building, and Alice released a puff of white breath. A small sigh of relief. It was over. Sojiro approached, carrying Oko, cradling her in his arms. Was she asleep? Her eyes were closed and she seemed peaceful. Her hair and limp body dangled like a silk drape. She looked just like Sleeping Beauty.
待っていてくれたんだ、アリス。
So he decided to wait for us, Alice. He sat, holding Oko with little effort. Alice nodded.
瞳子さんはどうなったの？
What happened to Oko?
いや、よくわからないけど、瞳子さんは帰ったよ。
To be honest, I don't really know, but she's gone.
青崎が言うには、そう簡単に解除できない呪いをかけたから、向こう10年は岬市には入ってこれないって。
Misaki said she placed a really strong curse on her, so she wouldn't come back to Misaki for 10 years.
その後、瞳子さんが尻尾を巻くのを仁王立ちで見届けて、見えなくなったらそのまま倒れたんだ。
After that, she stood and watched Oko run away until she was out of sight. Then she collapsed. Alice's response was brief, as if wondering if these things were really so simple. She seemed more concerned about Oko than Oko, which made Sojiro concerned about Alice and Oko's relationship more than anything.
それはともかくとして、
Okay, well, anyway.
青子はどうなっているんだろう。
What's going on with Oko? He asked nonchalantly as he looked at Oko breathing deeply in his sleep.
矛盾と清純を合わせているのね。
It looks like the variables are still balancing
彼
out.
女の時間は今の時間とは異なってしまったから。歯車を合わせるまで目は覚めないわ。
Since the time differs from her current time, she likely won't open her eyes until all the gears line up again. Sojiro nodded in understanding, very clearly still not comprehending a word else I just said.
なんか拍子抜けしたよ。
It was a bit of an anticlimax.
結局、瞳子さんと青崎、どっちが勝ったのかよくつかめない。
I can't tell if Awazaki or Miss Oko won.
そうね。魔術師の争いには明確な点数はつけられないから。
Right.
どちらが強いかで勝負はつかないわ。
Mage battles aren't always cut and dry. Is it always about who was more powerful?
瞳子さんの大目的が青崎の魔法の解明なら、魔法を使わされた時点で青子の負けよ。
If Toko's objective was to discover Awazaki's true magic, then Oko lost the moment she used it.
その後のいざこざは凱旋する勝者を夜道で襲ったようなものだし。
Everything that happened after was merely the triumph of the winner being accosted by the loser. Alice said that she turned to the sides of the forest. Even Sojiro couldn't tell what that was Alice's way of saying let's go home.
そうだね。青崎もアリスも、このままじゃ風邪をひく。
Yeah, let's go. At this rate, you both catch colds.
ああ、それと、青崎が瞳子さんに呪いをかけるとき、何かしてたんだけど。
Oh, I almost forgot. When Awazaki cursed Miss Toko, she did something else. Sojiro trailed off, hoping Alice would tell him what it was. But his stony and somewhat affected gaze was a response. Oh.
しずきくん。
Did you watch Sizuki?
いや、青崎が出てけって。
No, Awazaki told me to get out.
そう。それで青子はどんな呪いをかけたの？
Good. Did she say what curse she placed on her?
カエルがどうとか。
Something about turning her into a frog. Sojiro's explanation made Al's expression darken. Oko was still a long way from learning any sort of polymorph spells.
そう。
That's... It was prevented her from finishing the sentence. In actuality, it was perfectly within Oko's abilities considering where she was in time at that moment. As Oko had said, Toko would not be able to dispel the curse for 10 years. And the Oko of this time had not the ability to use such a curse. Which means Toko did not have anyone to rebut the curse to. No matter how much she researched dispelling powerful curses, she could not do it with the Oko of this timeline.
青子が瞳子さんにつけたのは切り傷ぐらいだから、 しずきくんが心配するようなことはないわ。
Aoko only cut Toko a little bit. It's nothing for you to worry about.
青子にしては随分と生ぬるい処置だけど。
I expected her to do something much worse. After a slightly unsettling remark, Alice quietly began to walk. Sojiro followed her, Oko in his arms. Together they left the clearing and moved into the forest. As they did, Sojiro abruptly froze.
しずきくん、
Shizuki. He looked back toward the old school buildings filled with a strange expression. Was it homesickness he felt? Though this was his only second time seeing it, he had a nostalgic feeling, like it would never be back. He looked like a child saying goodbye to an old toy that was to be thrown away. Seeing his expression, Alice felt a hint of sympathy and chided herself.
あの荒れ地がどうかした？
Is something on your mind? She asked him, watching the flowery garden fade into a snowy field. Sojiro shook his head.
なんとなく知っている場所に似てる気がして。
Not really. It's just like, I feel like I know that place.
おかしいな。やってきた時はそんな気はしなかったのに。
It's weird, right? I didn't feel this way when I got here. He stood staring at the tunnel for what seemed like an eternity, reluctant to leave. If she left him here, he would still be gazing at it by morning, probably even longer. But there was no point in doing that. In the end, Alice was the only one who would remember the beautiful scenery he yearned for.
ここはその場所にそんなに似てる？
Does it really look that familiar?
全然似てない。面影すら皆無だ。
Well, not at all. Not one bit of it.
ならそれは気の迷いよ。
And then it's just your imagination. Sojiro nodded at Alice's hard conclusion. He smiled slyly, deciding that it was pointless to want something that did not exist.
そうだね。多分幻を見ていたんだ。
Yeah, maybe I saw it in a dream.
あれは一度幸福だった時の夢だった。
A dream where I was happy. Severing the ties that bound to him, Sojiro turned his back away from the snowy clearing, away from the unfamiliar yet familiar place where he had known happiness.
さあ、早く帰ろう。青崎は重いし、体も疲れてる。
Don't let her hear that. Let's get back, I'm tired, and Aozaki's happy.
洋館に着いたらあったかいお茶を入れよう、アリス。
How about we have a warm cup of tea once we're back at the mansion, Alice? Sojiro spoke her name with a smile. Her heart skipped a beat. Since when did he start saying her name so casually like that? Somehow she managed to nod before beginning to walk again. As he moved away from her, she asked a small question to his back.
重いって私より。
Is she heavier than me? Naoko was a bit taller than Alice, so naturally she would weigh more, but Alice wanted to hear him say it anyway. Not one to disappoint, Sojiro answered without missing a beat.
ああ、数値的に言うのなら、アリスより10キロ増しぐらい。
Definitely, by about 20 pounds.
そう。青子が聞いてたら大変ね。
You do realize if Aoko knew you'd say that, she'd kill you. Judging by Alice's tone, she was probably going to tell Aoko later.
意地が悪いな、アリスも。
Oh, you're kinda mean, Alice.
それに、さっきのは本人の名誉のために死者誤入してたんだぞ、一応。
You know, I did run down too, just to be nice. His attempts at being kinda likely got him closer to his deathbed.
ダメかな。
No good, huh? He asked nervously. Alice couldn't help but crack a smile at his innocence. However, she was not used to smiling in front of others, so she turned away and walked into the woods. From Sojiro's perspective, she was storming off in a mood.
なんだ、
What?
友達の悪口で怒るなんて。やっぱり仲はいいんじゃないか、青崎。
She must really care if she's mad at me for saying that about you, right, Aozaki? Sojiro rose to catch up with Alice, gently carrying Oko along the way. Though the prince lacked the courage to kiss the sleeping princess, he had at least saved her, and was bringing her back to her castle. Despite what he had been through, he did not look like a typical hero. Still, in this story at least, he most certainly was. Oh no, there's still an epilogue. Oh, no, save, please. Yes. The real question is, how long is this? I mean, I guess it's just a small epilogue. Can I, like, find how long this is? me a second. Like, I'm not sure how long this is going to be. I'm not sure if I want to be here for another 2 hours is a thing. Hmm. Hmm. I know this is kind of annoying that I'm not saying anything chat right now, but I'm trying to deduce how long this is. Like, there's one video that I see that's like over an hour long, so I don't think I want to do that today. I don't think I want to do that today. Hmm. Yeah, I think I'll just keep the epilogue until Friday then, if I'm streaming on Friday. Because, yeah, if this is going to be like more than an hour, then, yeah, my voice is already kind of dying, so I don't think I want to do that to myself. I guess I can call it the epilogue next time I stream. Where did I... Oh, down there. Yeah, I'm just going to leave it until next time then. We're almost at 3 hours here anyway. Yeah, thank you all for watching, and I'll catch you all with the remainder next time then. Like, maybe it's half an hour, maybe it isn't, I don't know, I can't say. I can't say. What I can say is that my voice needs rest right now, so... Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all on Friday with the conclusion.